This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
All right, go time on Winnipeg Sports Talk for a Friday afternoon, heading into the weekend, heading into Super Bowl weekend. Welcome to the program. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis, Connor Hrabchak's going to jump on. We've got a packed show. I'm actually have a flight later on this afternoon, so I'll start it off. And then the boys will take you to the marble race at the end of the program. Ken Wiebe's going to jump on, Hacksaw, Brandon Rewucki, and more to discuss the downward turn in the fortunes of the Winnipeg Jets. And as ugly a 20 minutes of hockey as we've seen all season long last night in Philly as part of that 4-1 loss to the Flyers, as the Jets extend their losing streak to 5 games with 4 regulation losses and 1 overtime loss, 1 point to show for their last 5 games. And the callers I know in the chat, I think, are getting a little tighter. And yes, there is some angst growing amongst Winnipeg Jet fans with the recent downturn of the club's fortunes. We're going to get to it right away. We'll hear some post-game reaction from Rick Bowness and a very interesting post-game reaction from Flyers head coach John Tortorella as well. Just quickly want to welcome everyone in to the program. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and welcome to all new Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners. Hit that subscribe button. We're here every day, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday, live for a couple hours. And, of course, you can find Winnipeg Sports Talk on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Just search Winnipeg Sports Talk and subscribe for the audio feed in your inbox around 3:30 every afternoon, just in time for your drive home from work. Just before we bring in Reem, a big thanks to the sponsors that make this show happen each and every day. Our friends at Coolbet just finished our Super Bowl spectacular in the lock shop, so you can check that out over at the Edmonton Sports Talk channel. Remis and Connor will get to the Coolbet lines later on today, and I'll give you a few of my best bets before I take off once Connor gets in and we talk a little Super Bowl. But, of course, our friends at Princess Auto as well. Big week for the Bombers. CFL free agency next week. Be sure to be staying tuned to Winnipeg Sports Talk for the latest on the blue and gold. And, of course, our friends at Boston Pizza, Sport Manitoba, Aitken's Lake Wilderness Lodge, Little Brown Jug, Royal Sports, F Apparel, Wallace & Wallace, the Winnipeg Jets, big game tomorrow night. Well, we're going to get into that right away. Modern Man Barbershop, Manitoba Battery, and our friends at Canadian Club. I'm not sure. I did not get a note whether those last 4 tickets that opened up yesterday for the whiskey tasting and Jets watch night with the Winnipeg Whiskey Festival and Winnipeg Sports Talk are gone. But if you would like to join us, check out to see if the last 4 tickets are gone yet. Link in the description here, or go to winnipegsportstalk.com. Click on whiskey. That's on February the 29th. We're going to be trying some and learning about some amazing whiskeys and watching the game on a big screen in an incredible venue, the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame. So we sold out. We got 4 extra tickets. Jump on it if they haven't gone already, and we'd love to see you there. All right, let's get Remis in here. Welcome to everybody in chat. And Remo, is the panic button back?
Okay, I'm looking at the calendar right now. Says 2024. Is that correct, or did we go back in time to 2023? Because I'm feeling a lot of...
The Chiefs are about to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
again.
exactly. Feeling a lot of Bell's having layoffs. The Chiefs are in the Super Bowl.
That's every year, though.
The Jets are in the second half slide. What year is it? What's going on right now?
Listen, I get it. Even if you were kind of thinking that, hey, the team played so well. It wasn't a great week going in. Scheifele was out. They make a trade. Everybody's back. You come out not great against Pittsburgh. Power play, the penalty kill gives up a couple on a 5-minute penalty. But overall, I mean, those sort of games are going to happen. The start of the Jets last night was an absolute disaster. And I didn't even want to get tweeting about it. I wanted to see what happened about the rest of the game. But I don't think that there's any way around that was the ugliest 20 minutes of hockey the Winnipeg Jets have played, certainly to open a game all season long. And, I don't know, like the first 90 seconds or so, they had a little bit of zone time. They were running around. But, I mean, Philadelphia, that first goal where, Neil Pionk didn't do a particularly good job at all of his man. But Gabriel Velarde, who has been, great when he's been, although he's been a little slow as of late offensively, just completely ignoring his man in front of the net and giving up one of the easiest goals an opponent will score all week long. I believe Rick Bowness referred to it as a gift, and it absolutely was. It seemed like that just set the wheels in motion for a period, Remis, that, put a team that hasn't been able to score down 3 and all but ended their hopes before they even got to the dressing room for the first intermission. Incredibly concerning way to start the game and the way they played that first 20 minutes.
Yeah, especially for a team that has had a lot of comebacks this year. Getting down 1 4 minutes into a game shouldn't be a big deal, but you look at that play, it's a 2-on-2. Sandberg does make the pinch. Velarde's there, and Pionk lets his man kind of just walk right by him, and he has the lane open for passing, and Velarde lets his man go, and they get an easy tap in. And 1-0. Again, you think that shouldn't be such a huge mountain to climb over. This team's, fought back from multi-goal deficits all season, but when things aren't going well and you're not scoring goals, I guess a 1-goal deficit early in the game should be, maybe feels like you can't overcome it, but for them it was early in the game, and I don't think the first goal of the game 4 minutes in should be the turning point, but they couldn't seem to get it going, and next thing you know, you're out of the first period. It's 3-0 Philadelphia. You're outshot 13-4, and I don't want to say the game was over because they actually did a good job, but they almost got it shut out twice by Samuel Urson and the Philadelphia Flyers. I was happy that they scored at the end just because, hey, get one, and now you can say you're not able to say that Philadelphia shut them out twice. One thing when we're talking about special teams, power play again 0-for-3. The Philadelphia power play was 0-for-4, so that was good. Penalty kill getting done, but the shorthanded goal, just when you think, okay, let's get this power play, maybe you can get back in it and make it 3-1. They score that shorthanded goal in the second period there. Right at the start of it. So you thought maybe they had a chance to battle back, and special teams kind of let them down again there, which continues to be very disappointing.
Listen, and I'm not holding this on Brossoit. That one you'd like the goaltender to have, but the guys in front of him just weren't.
Yeah, I don't know. Did Morrissey get a piece of that? I wasn't sure. Anyways, I agree.
Yeah, listen, this isn't on the goalie. No. At all. It was on a team that just didn't seem to be ready to play, which is disappointing, and it's concerning because for the most part this year, that has not been. And that looked so far from the Winnipeg Jets that we've seen during some of their 30 wins this year, which, again, considering the time of year and what happened last year and what happened in 2019, I get it. Fans are legitimately concerned. And I'm sure Rick Bowness is concerned too. I think coaches, especially when you had a start the way the Winnipeg Jets had, and you see a team sort of wilt going into the break, your hope is that they get over it while they're away and they come back. That hasn't happened for the Jets yet. And this game tomorrow night against the Pittsburgh Penguins, Saturday night game, hockey night in Canada, Sidney Crosby and the Penguins in town, is an absolutely huge game and test. And, Connor Hellebuck will be there, and he wasn't part of last night's game, and probably thankful that he wasn't. Going to need to lean on him and, just be much better in so many aspects, and in a way that they have played most of this season, but haven't seen a lot of it lately, which makes it that much more concerning. I mean, I'll still say, and I'll put this, why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? Let us know in the chat. And this will be on a 1 to 10 score rating. The level of concern. How close are you to hitting the panic button? And give us a 1 to 10 score in the chat. For me personally, I would say I was about a 4 going into last night's game. After the first period, I was 6, bordering on 7. And so, I mean, I think it's significant, but certainly it's not anything that can't be turned around. But it does need to get turned around quickly. And I would suggest that this game tonight, game tomorrow night on Saturday, is one of the biggest of the season for the Winnipeg Jets, because if this continues, you then have to sit on it. Everyone goes nuts in the chat for the next 3 days, waiting for the San Jose Sharks to come. And then you're playing one of the worst teams in the league on a losing streak with so much pressure going in. You don't want to get it to that point. Where are you at, Remis, on the 1 to 10 panic scale?
I was reading out some numbers in the chat here. I see 3, 6.9, 6, 0, 9.
Spency was 6.9,
8,
I'm sure.
2.9, 3.9, 6, 7, 6, 7, 3 to 4, 8, 8, 11. So I think it's pretty wide ranging. I think I'm at like a 6. I'm not all the way there. I think there's still a lot of time. I think they've shown they're a good team, but you're just watching history repeating itself. I think so. You have that feeling, and we mentioned last year, we mentioned 2019. We almost forgot about the Canadian division shortened season year too, where they had to have that press at the end to get into the playoffs. Remember, they were not playing well at all going to that series with Edmonton. So shout out to T. Will, who bring that one up. But definitely a little concerned. But it's even funny. Like last year, I kept saying over and over, "I'm not concerned, not concerned." I think it was in that San Jose game that they lost when it seemed they should have had some urgency. And I think it was one of our best shows that we did last year. So I think I'm getting there. I think there's still time. So like people saying, "Oh, is it already like a must win situation on Saturday?" I don't think so.
Dan Milburn, he's at 7 out of 10. However, adds, if the Jets don't dominate Saturday, the season is done.
No.
You know what? That is, hey, I knew the flamethrowers would be out with hot takes today, and I get it. I'm not sure. Well, I will disagree. The season is not done if they don't dominate on Saturday. But listen, people are going to be expecting a much, much better performance. And hell, the fans will be expecting that. You know who's going to be expecting that the most is Rick Bowness, who was not pleased, but he did hold back afterwards. Listen, the Balharry play, and listen, Pionk had a night. I mean, he was obviously involved in that first goal and didn't look good on it. But the real culprit on that one was Balharry just completely ignoring his man and basically stopping on the play, allowing an easy tap in. But it kind of showed the sort of night it was going to be for Pionk. Later on in the period, he fights Travis Konechny, trying to, presumably spark his team, get into it. Does okay, goes to the box, comes out, and what happens? Konechny shoots it off Pionk into the net. And then it just sort of went downhill from there. But let's hear from Bones, because listen, that the first goal really set the tone, and it was a terrible tone for the game overall. I don't think the Jets really got past that. Here's what Bones had to say about how things broke down to get the Flyers up in the game.
That was a gift.
Yeah.
We were there. We just let him go.
And yeah, that play, it wasn't that long after you made a line change. Was that related to maybe what you saw on that play, or in terms of game?
It's just trying to get something going. if we could, yeah, that's all. I'm just trying to get something going.
Right. The first period as a whole.
I think that put us on our heels a little bit. Then they got a couple of scrambling goals, bouncing pucks that went their way. That's going to happen. The most important thing from that is how you respond. I thought we responded very well in the second and third periods. We dominated. We're not getting that big goal at the right time. And we'll pull through this.
So there's Bones. I mean, yeah, they have to pull through it. You can't get more straightforward than what he had to say right off the bat. Definitely couching his words, but that was a gift, and it certainly was. And then, listen, I'm normally someone that will really lean on the positive side of things, and when you have a bad run or you give up a few goals and then you come back, you might not win the game, but if you play really well and you push really hard, I'll say, give the team credit for that. I didn't really feel a lot of that way in the second and third period, even though the Jets were carrying the play. I thought it was more Philly just kind of knowing that they had the game won. And, I didn't take a lot of positives out of that personally. Some might be different. But Bones was asked if they had such a great second and third period because the Flyers sort of sat back.
I don't know. They're not a team that sits back. That's not how Torts coaches, and that's not how they play. So you give our guys the credit for battling. It was a tough first period, a couple of bad bounces. That's going to happen. We battled back. Listen, we dominated the last 40 minutes. Normally we're scoring a few more goals than we are right now. It goes back to that.
Well, and maybe that's the key. I mean, if a couple of those chances that they did create go in, maybe this doesn't look as bad. But, one late goal to prevent being shut out for the second time in as many games, to one goal to salvage not being shut out on the season series against Philly, all of that came together. But there is a sense that in the past, this team has been a fragile team. And myself, has been saying this team looks like a completely different club this year. If you just watch the last couple games, you probably wouldn't be saying that. So Bones was asked afterwards about the state of his team right now and if they're a fragile team.
Would it be fair to suggest that this group might be a little fragile right now just because things haven't gone as well as they had been?
It starts with me. We'll pull through this.
Yeah.
Listen, we're still 5-on-5. We're still the best team in this league. And right now we're not scoring goals. So we're going to stay with who the Winnipeg Jets are, and we're going to keep working, and we'll pull through this.
Alex and Gabe had switched spots earlier, but then by the third, later in the third, you had Nick up there with Mark and Kyle. They get the goal, and then Gabe was on that second. Did you like how that looked, and is that something you'd maybe carry forward?
We'll talk about that over the next couple of days. I was trying to get it earlier, but the power plays were coming and kind of disrupting what we really wanted to get to. When you get, like, we're using different guys in different lines, and then it takes a couple of rotations to get your lines back to where you wanted. So I wanted to do it earlier, but the power plays kept coming up with for both teams at the different times. So we'll see what we look like Saturday.
Just one more.
All right, some interesting stuff from Bones on. We'll see how we look like, because one thing that you would expect to happen in a game like that, although probably not ideal considering you're trying to mix in a new player that was just acquired in a significant trade, the blender came out. And you mentioned Balharry. I mean, listen, I don't know whether Balharry was singled out just because of how egregious that play was and the lack of attention to his man on the first goal. But I don't think it was lost on many people that Balharry went from line 1 to line 4, and Alex Iafallo went from line 4 to line 1.
Yeah, that was certainly, I guess, strange, or maybe not strange, considering
not if you saw the first goal.
Considering but just the idea that Gabe Balharry goes from line 1 to line 4, and I get it, and he eventually ended up back at the end with Perfetti and Monahan, but trying to send a message, trying to shake things up, and he said trying to get a spark. I don't know. We've been talking, if you wanted to get some scoring going, maybe putting Nikolai Ehlers back on that top line. And they eventually went to that, but that was not the first option there. So trying to shake some stuff up, and because whatever they've been going here the last couple of games hasn't worked. Sorry, how many goals is it in the last 5 games during this 5-game winless streak? Is it like 5? 4? It's not great. It's not great.
They've been shut out 3 times in the last 5 games.
Yeah, it's
or 3, or it would have been a shutout.
They've
I guess
lost 6 of the last 8. I mean, you lost. Let's see. You lost to Boston 4-1, shut out by Toronto. Lost to Toronto 4-2. That's 3 goals in 3 games. And then Pittsburgh.
So 4 goals in 5 games.
Yeah, 4 goals the last 5.
Not gonna get it done. I mean, I did think they had some great chances in the second and third periods and seemed a little snake pit. And that Urson, I mean, had another hell of a game. But I mean, tell me you haven't heard me say that before over the course of this last couple weeks or 3 weeks, I guess, including the break. You got to make more. And I mean, we were talking about that one, the 2-on-1 with Kyle Connor and Nikolai Ehlers, and KFC decided to do like a background spin pass across that got blocked up. I mean, at a certain point, Barry won. It didn't happen last night. Now, there was a lot of talk about what the Jets did in the second and third periods. And, we mentioned Rick, and I think sort of not wanting to completely air out his players as he has done in the past at times. He's not there yet. Let's hear what John Tortorella had to say about the game last night and about the second and third period. And we'll be able to give you Torts' entire post-game press conference in one clip because let's just say it was relatively brief. Here's what Torts had to say about his team's 3-goal home win last night.
The first period, what did you see in the second and third?
Nothing.
How do you, evaluate the game? Obviously, you guys have the great first, you take control, but do you come away more...
We won the game.
We
won the game. We got 2 points. That's how I evaluate it.
Putting Ryan Pinling and Noah out there for the 5-on-3, was that a reward, or was that you just like the way they were playing tonight?
Like they were playing, I thought they deserved to be on the ice.
Travis connecting, you felt like Harrison was probably your most important player. Would you feel the same way?
Yes.
What did you like about Travis in the first?
Travis who?
Connecting. Gordie Howe hat-trick.
Yeah, I guess so.
Do you sense when he plays like that, when he's going like that, when Connecting's going the way he was in the first period, do you see it lift up other guys? Can the other guys build off, the momentum, the energy that he brings?
I don't know.
Did you not like Travis's game? Is that why you
I don't know.
like that?
All right, thanks, Torts. That was an interesting one. He obviously didn't like the way his team played in the second and third periods, but happy he got the 2 points, and maybe easier to kind of be like that and try to prove a point to a team that just dominated a team in one period and then maybe coasted a little bit. But for Rick Bowness, a very different tact, if you will. Saying it was on him, not really talking too much about any particular players or whatnot, but by his actions, with mixing up the lines, the Balharry moved to line 4, showing that he certainly was not particularly pleased or impressed with what his team did. We're going to quickly hit a little bit of Super Bowl, but we'll get to Jets first with Connor Hrabchak. And then Michael's going to be talking with Rewucki and Ken Wiebe coming up on the program. But just before we do that, a quick thanks to some of our Winnipeg Sports Talk sponsors. Hey, gang, if you want to clean it up a little bit and get looking good, you got to head over to our friends at Modern Man Barber Shops with 8 locations conveniently located throughout Winnipeg, including the newest locations on Pembina Highway or Plessis Road. Modern Man has you covered with a variety of grooming services, including haircuts, beard shaping, shaves, color services, and more. Make an appointment and book your look via modernmanbarber.com and follow them on Instagram at Modern Man Barber Shops. Big shout out to our friends at Manitoba Battery as well. Donnie and the gang getting set to open up later this month their second Winnipeg location on Dover Court over in the south side of Manitoba, which means folks in the south end will have an even easier time popping by Manitoba Battery. But as we've been telling you on Winnipeg Sports Talk, you really don't need to leave your home, because not only will you shop local and get the lowest prices in town, bottom line, beating the pants off the big box stores, Manitoba Battery will deliver your batteries to you anywhere inside the perimeter for free with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. Stay tuned for grand opening details and sales specials. But in the meantime, for all your battery needs, go to manitobabattery.com or give them a call at 204-783-8787. We are, of course, counting down the days to February 29th, when we're looking forward to teaming up with our great friends and sponsors at Canadian Club and the Winnipeg Whiskey Festival to take over the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame for the Canadian Whiskey Masterclass event. And, of course, watch the Jets take on the Dallas Stars. The event is sold out, thanks to everyone that is going to come and see us. We can't wait to see you that night as well. In the meantime, for more information on the Winnipeg Whiskey Festival, check it out online. And when you're at your local Manitoba liquor marts, make sure to check out the Canadian Club display for all of Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club. And remember, always enjoy responsibly. And hey, I should also give a shout out to the gang down at Aitken's Lake Wilderness Lodge. You know, they're getting ready for a big summer of 2024. If you're looking for an incredible fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aitken's Lake is the spot, featuring world-class fishing. And as great as the fishing is, the hospitality of the Terren family and the Aikens team is even better. Find out more about availability and booking for 2024 at aikenslake.com. And be sure to check them out online on X and Instagram at Aikens Lake. All right, let's get to both Jets and a little Super Bowl before I have to jet. Remis is here, and the third member of the WST team, Connor Hrabchak, joins us. Connor, what's going on? How are you?
Feeling great, Huss. Thanks for having me back on the big show Friday before the Super Bowl. I've been sleeping great all week, despite what you were saying on
Shocking.
Monday. So, yeah.
Well, listen, we'll get to the Super Bowl in a minute. But let me ask you right off the bat what I asked everybody in chat a few minutes ago. 1 to 10, where is your level of concern right now, considering what we saw last night in Philly and really the better part of the last 3 weeks on either end of the player break?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Remis on this one. I think I'm about at a 6. If they lose to Pittsburgh, that number will go up, and then they play Wednesday night against the Sharks at home. That would be a full 10, hit the panic button if they end up losing that game. But as for right now, 6. First period was awful last night. The rest of the game, not too bad. How much of that is score effects? Obviously, we saw just now Tortorella wasn't happy with the way his team played in the rest of that game. So I'm with Remis. I'm with you guys, kind of 6-7 range. And then Saturday, I don't even think they need to really, it's not a must win. They need to play well. They need to get back to their 5-on-5 game. A power play goal would be nice. Carney might steal one. But I'm not at 10 or anything yet. But if they lose to San Jose on Wednesday, it's full on panic mode.
You know, listen, this team's going to lose games, and teams lose, over the course of the year, and the Jets set the bar pretty darn high. But it was the way that first period fell apart on the team that I think was so concerning. And listen, I mean, there was a number of players that didn't have their finest moments. Unfortunately for Gabe Balharry, his led to a goal. Rick Bowness referred to it as a gift. And I mean, that was being somewhat charitable. But it was something to see the way things changed in the second period when it came to what Bones was doing. And listen, he may not have told us everything after in the post game and tried to say it was on him, but it was pretty clear with the way the lines got shuffled, and in particular, a guy going from line 1 to line 4, that Bones is looking for some accountability and guys to step up. And even a new player like Balharry that's had such a strong contribution to this year, not able to avoid the wrath of the coach after something that was so glaring.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. That was pretty glaring. Immediately, I tweeted out, not sure what Gabriel Balharry was doing on that one, because he was in a good spot. He back-checked and he was there. And then once he and the Flyers player got to the crease, he just kind of like let up and drifted away, and it was kind of
you know when your controller gets unplugged,
yeah,
and your guy just kind of goes there like that. That's what happened last night. On
it's
that first goal.
Like you could see the process working. Like he's in the right spot, and then he just kind of loses his guy. I don't know what happened there, but clearly, I thought the full line blender was going to be out in that second period, and then, like you said, it's just I follow for Vilardi, clearly sending a message in the game, in the post game. I mean, he's not gonna like say that. Like a coach isn't gonna publicly say that about his players. Some coaches do. Sometimes Rick Bowness has, but this is the first big losing streak they've had all year. He's not going to go full panic mode, especially singling out one of the newer players, Gabe Vilardi. He's been hurt. But yeah, they need more from a lot of guys up front. Vilardi's one of them, and that top line just has to get going. Kyle Connor scored, and they switched to Connor, Scheifele, Ehlers late in the third. I'd like to see the Jets continue with that top line going into Saturday's game. But yeah, just
it's funny you bring that
more.
up. It's funny you bring that up because, Reem, if you remember our conversation yesterday with Murat, and we were talking about Mike's original question, coming out of the Pittsburgh game, would you think about swapping Connor and Ehlers? And we were talking about the pros and cons of that. And I brought up to Murat, I mean, can we maybe see a first line that doesn't have Gabriel Vilardi on it? And he said, they've been really committed to trying to have Vilardi on that spot. But lo and behold, I mean, 20 minutes into the game, we see a significant change that obviously won't keep Vilardi on the fourth line for a long time, but it was a little different. And I would think that based on what we saw later on in that game, I think Ehlers is going to be on that line to start Saturday night, and I would assume that Connor will be as well, which is maybe a little challenge for Monahan into his third game with the new line combination. But they need to score. They need to find a way to score goals right now. You'd love to get something from the bottom six, but the top six is where you really need to rely on it. And listen, I don't think there's much argument against having Ehlers up there considering what he generates and what we've seen when he has been playing with Mark Scheifele, regardless of the winger.
Yeah, 100%. And they
You're
kept
muted.
showing that. Yeah. What? Sorry, what'd you say?
We can't hear you. You're muted.
Oh, one sec. I think they can hear me on the thing. My microphone unplugged.
Oh, he's still muted. Well, you let us know when that mic's going to be working.
I'm here.
Again.
They could hear me.
There we go. There we
they
go.
could hear me. It unplugged during the thing. Anyways, as far as the lines going, I lost my train of thought, but they kept showing that graphic here during the game. Basically, everyone on the team on a scoring drought. I mean, well, we just mentioned it. I mean, 4 goals in the last 5 games. Like, who isn't on a scoring drought? And I don't know, Huss. Like, it seems like they're kind of the team's in denial that Nikolai Ehlers is a top line forward. Kyle Connor goes out and they perform amazing. Him, Scheifele, and Vilardi, and Kyle Connor comes back. And congrats, Nikolai. You've been demoted now to the second line. He doesn't get top power play time, but I mean, you can say that he's small, or you can say that he plays an unpredictable style. But when he's on the ice, the results speak for themselves. Look at his efficiency. In terms of what point, you want to go by straight points per 60. He's one of the most efficient scorers on the team. So he's earned a shot at the top line forward. And if they want to get out of the scoring slump, I think it starts with him and Mark Scheifele together. If you want to put it with Connor, you want to put it with Vilardi, take your pick. And they did switch the top 6 to Connor, Scheifele, Ehlers, and Perfetti, Monahan, Vilardi. But I think Nikolai Ehlers seems to be the guy who gets the offense going on this team, and they just seem to not want to continuously over the last couple of years not use him in that way and limit his minutes. So we'll see what happens on Saturday.
I understand some of that thought process, like to have Ehlers as the driver of that second line, getting some better matchups. I mean, helping in theory it was Monahan and Perfetti on that group. But in this situation, after last night, and I think getting a little bit more of a look, not that we haven't had looks before with Ehlers playing with Scheifele and now in this case, Kyle Connor, knowing how much this team needs to kickstart the offense, I think Ehlers has to be in that spot going into the game on Saturday night. One thing we haven't mentioned, and bonus, here, Remis, if you can, just play this very, very quick clip. I know it's been a big topic. Brendan Dillon's out for a few games. Logan Stanley got in. Here's what Bones had to say about Big Stan.
It's fine. I mean, he got a couple of bad bounces that went off of us and just bouncing pucks. So under the circumstances, I thought he did very fine. He did well.
All right, so there's Bones. I mean, fine. And the reason why I play that is that I know there's a lot of talk about Stan, and I know there's a lot about Ville Heinola. And listen, that's a topic that, we'll discuss going forward this week when Ville gets a call. But I mean, coming out of a game like that last night, let's not spend all our time talking about the seventh defenseman on the Jets depth chart. I mean, this had almost nothing to do with who was in Brendan Dillon's spot on the third pair for the Winnipeg Jets last night. I mean, this was, a failure of the team to be ready to just compete at that level with the team that they knew exactly what they were getting in the Philadelphia Flyers. And, and I think that's why Rick Remis, when he was asked that question, just sort of said, yeah, fine. I mean, it wasn't a matter of, like, as I say, you could swap Ville Heinola with Logan Stanley. I don't know if that's making a lick of difference last night. Overall, going forward, sure. We all would like to see Ville Heinola get an opportunity at some point. But when the puck drops on Friday, or when the puck drops tomorrow night at Canada Life Center against Pittsburgh, we're going to be looking at the big dogs on this hockey club to see what they can do right now. Because as much as changes around the periphery at the bottom of the depth chart is a fun thing to talk about in Canadian markets, this is not going to be saved by somebody coming in from the Moose. It's going to be saved from the guys that had great seasons going up until a few weeks ago, getting back to doing what made them a first-place hockey club in the first place.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers, Big Stan was on the ice for 2 goals against, but it's funny. We talk about how it wasn't a great game for the Jets overall. After listening to that John Tortorella press conference, I was actually feeling a lot better with the Jets game. I was like, maybe they did. Maybe they did get goal lead. I don't know. Maybe they did have a lot of chances and could have easily tied it up in the second and third. But Urson just stood on his head.
They were better, but the bar was so damn low after the first 20 minutes. I think anything would have looked better. However, Philly did go long stretches without having anything offensively, which is great. But you know what? When you play the way they did in the first period, you get up the way they did on the Jets, and then get that shorthanded goal to make it 4-0. I mean, that level of urgency. I mean, I think, Connor, they were just able to sort of sit back. Torts hated it, obviously, from what we heard. But the Philadelphia Flyers never seemed even close to being in danger. And maybe Urson, if a goal goes in midway through the second period, maybe it's a different story in the third. But the bottom line is it wasn't. And you could sort of feel that from Bonus's comments after the game.
Yeah, Bonus said, oh, it's a Tortorella team. They're never going to sit back. But we all saw it. The Flyers definitely sat back. Tortorella saw it. He was clearly pissed off in the post game. And yeah, they outshot the Flyers 15-2 in the second. That's a step. That's push back. That's fighting back. You're down 3-0, but you're still giving it your effort. And it is what it is. How much of that is score effects and the Flyers just dumping the puck in or making the safe play rather than shooting the puck on net? How much of that is the Jets throwing everything on net because they know they're down 4-0 and they need a goal? That's a different conversation, score effects in general. But I think they did play better in the second and third period. But again, like you said, when you put yourself down that far with a team that's failing to score goals, a power play that's bottom 6, bottom 7 in the NHL, you're just not going to win hockey games. The Jets' ability to come from behind is something that might come up here. They were able to have good comebacks earlier in the year when they were able to score goals, but with a lacking power play, the inability to generate at 5-on-5, that first goal is becoming more and more important, and being able to just lean on the defensive system and Connor Hellebuck. So yes, they played better, but dig yourself that deep of a hole, you're not going to win.
You do make a great point about the first goal. I believe I was listening on the pregame show on my way to meet the fellas to watch the game, and I think the Jets are 19-3-1 when they score the first goal. Philly was right up there as well in that category, which made the first goal so important, which made that goal that they gave up, which was the gift, as Rick Bonus said, so frustrating, I think so impactful to what happened for the rest of that, the first period. Well, obviously, we're going to have plenty more on this. We're going to have Ken Wiebe's thoughts on it, Brandon Rewucki as well, coming up in a few minutes. But just before I've got to go, we got about 5 minutes before Brandon comes on here. We'll take a quick timeout, maybe lift the spirits of everyone. You can not stress about the Jets for 5 minutes because we've got the Super Bowl on Sunday. My Chiefs, Connor's Niners. Remis, we know who we're both taking in the game. Have you settled on your Super Bowl pick yet for 58 on Sunday?
You know, I haven't locked anything in. I usually at our Super Bowl party do a prop pool sheet that we hand out to everyone, and you got to fill it out. I'm really torn. You know, when the line came out, I'm like, whoa, Chiefs are underdogs. I got to bet them. I mean, how can you bet against Patrick Mahomes at all? So that's my first lean. But then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go against the public and take the 49ers. They've been the best team all year. They had one bad game. The Chiefs shown they can be exploited on the ground, which San Francisco, that is what they do. They're going to run with McCaffrey. They're going to run with Debo Samuel. I think that's where they're going to win. And maybe Brock Purdy sprinkles in, you know, a deep throw to Ayuk that bounces off a defender's helmet and he makes a circus catch. Maybe that happens again. You never know. So I'm really torn. I think I would probably my heart is my head saying Chiefs, but my heart is saying 49ers here. So I'm torn. If I had to lock in a pool, I would probably take the 49ers because I think everyone is going to be on the Chiefs, and I think that gives you an advantage. So I'm really playing both sides here, both you guys. I'm sorry, but I'll say Chiefs. If I had to pick Chiefs.
He just goes out all and say I'm saying 49ers and then says Chiefs.
But when I do my pool, I will put in 49ers and say McCaffrey as the MVP. That's what I'm going to put in.
You know, listen, if you're on the Chiefs, you're obviously on Mahomes as MVP.
Yeah.
But Connor, to what Riemann just mentioned about this matchup, I mean, to me, and I think we're going to find out relatively quickly, like we did in the Ravens game, as to how Kansas City is able and ready to handle the rushing attack of McCaffrey and the San Francisco 49ers. Because if they can do anything close to what they did after that one big rush from Gus Edwards, it's going to put a ton of pressure on Brock Purdy. And I think that the path of victory for the Niners is to not make Brock Purdy have to out QB Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's the more I listen to the media, the Americans that are talking about the game and what they think and where the strengths are and weaknesses are, the 49ers, what they do best is run the ball. And what the Chiefs do worse out of every facet of their game is run defense. Like their pass defense is elite, and it makes their defense one of the best in the league. They have an elite quarterback, Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice. Like their offense, it struggled in the Baltimore game, but they got the job done. But they can't stop the run, and the Ravens didn't run the ball. Like it was just shocking to me. And the Bills had success running the football. So I like McCaffrey as Super Bowl MVP because obviously I think the 49ers are going to win. And I think if they're going to win, he's going to have 180 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Like he's going to have the game of his life. But yeah, just listening around, like Chiefs, Huss and I, we haven't talked off camera about this game, so you're not included in this, Huss. But Chiefs fans have been on this this moral high ground because they have the better quarterback, they have the better defense, and yet they're still underdogs. So they can say, oh, we have Mahomes, you can't bet against Mahomes. Oh, our defense is better. They have one of the best defenses in the league, and we're underdogs. This is like a dream come true. But I just don't buy it. I think that run defense, people are underestimating how much that is going to matter. And the Niners, Brock Purdy might not even be a factor in this game. They might run reverse jet sweeps to Debo and McCaffrey and Ayuk all game, and Brock Purdy has to make 5 good throws. That's the game.
We'll see. The one thing I'll say is people were saying the exact same thing going into Buffalo and the exact same thing going into Baltimore.
Oh,
and we know how that turned out. And listen, Spags has had 2 weeks to get ready for this game. He had an absolute masterpiece getting his defense ready for the Ravens. And it's going to be an incredible matchup. Obviously, I'm on the Chiefs. I do like the under in the game, 47.5. I think both teams are going to eat up the clock on some long drives. And particularly if either of these teams can, force red zone field goals, I think that really leans to the under. The guys will get to the Coolbet lines later on, but just before I jet, here's a few of my favorite props for the game. We went through all of them on the Lock Shop today. Listen, if you like the Chiefs to win, Mahomes, it's hard to imagine a scenario that the Chiefs win and Mahomes isn't the MVP. He's at plus 120. The Chiefs are plus 110 to win the game. So very, very similar. I do like, and this is, again, where I'm coming from on this. I'm looking at different ways the Chiefs can win this game. Brock Purdy over 1.5 interceptions at plus 400. Maybe worth a little sprinkle if you're with us on. I think MVS is the most undervalued player on the prop market. I've got him at over 19.5 yards for the game. I've got him over 13.5 yards for his long reception. Put a little sprinkle on him for first touchdown at 25-1. The thing with, Kelsey's going to get a ton of balls. Rashee Rice is going to get a ton of balls. And they're going to run Isaiah Pacheco. The question is, who is the other guy? And I think we've seen, dating back to last year's AFC Championship game and both the Bills game and the Ravens game, is that Mahomes is sort of back with a little bit more confidence in MVS, and he's made those big throws. And as far as over the long reception, the average air yards of Mahomes' passes to MVS this year has been 17.5. So if he does get a catch or two, he's probably getting on the over. Let's see here. A couple other ones. Rashee Rice, longest reception over 21.5. I like that. Butker over Moody in head-to-head kicking points. And then finally, for the post-game, there is a prop at Coolbet where it's the first mention by the MVP in his acceptance speech. So first mention. Now, it's even money for teammates. It is 2-1 for, thanking God or whatever, a religious thing. This is more a Mahomes bet. But if Mahomes wins the MVP, and we're talking about the first mention, I'm going city/fans at 5-1. Mahomes always, when he gets going and knows that he's got the mic going on, gets the, hey, how we doing, Chiefs Kingdom? He shouts out the fans first, I think. So there you go, 5-1. If you want more, check out today's Lock Shop over at Edmonton Sports Talk with the fellas. And guys, I'm gonna need to run. Connor, I hope you have a great weekend, with the exception of Sunday from about 6 p.m. till about 10 o'clock. And Reem, I know you and Connor will hold it down next week. And I hope I come back. The show on the Monday, I just realized, is going to be our first. It's going to be basically a pregame show for the Winnipeg Jets because Calgary's playing that afternoon at the 19th at 3 p.m. So if we're doing
that's a holiday Monday, actually. So I don't know if we were going to do one. We'll have to discuss.
Okay, yeah, well, we will do one. But anyways, that is a weird day because it is a game day that day, and then of course the Tuesday is the Minnesota Wild. I'll be stressing with all you Jets fans tomorrow night and through the week, but I won't be around. Shout out to the guys for holding it down. And special congratulations to my great friends Mo and Melissa, who are getting married, heading down there, down south for that. And I'll be back in a week, but it's going to be fun. And in some ways, thank God, this Jets issues are happening right around the Super Bowl. So I've been able to concentrate on that. But if we get to Super Bowl Monday, and I don't even want to think of what could happen over the course of the weekend, I hope it makes my trip great. But yes, concern levels rising for the Jets. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And I know Brandon and Michael and Connor will have more from you as the program continues. So everybody have an awesome Super Bowl weekend. And fingers crossed the home team gets it done tomorrow on the ice. I'll turn it over to Michael, and I will see you in a week here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great weekend, and go Chiefs.
Yeah, well done, Hustler. Have a great time off. Hopefully you don't burn the place down when you go see Peace and Love. Anyways, we'll get to Brandon Rewucki coming up just right after this.
We were just talking about the continued work to do that the organization has via attendance. I will say this to you. The answer to all of this is to get back and regain the season tickets that were lost over the last couple seasons. And that, I believe, is the number one priority right now of the organization. If you are a lapsed season ticket holder, or frankly, someone that wasn't in a position before, but maybe are right now, whether in a full or in sharing, get in touch with the Winnipeg Jets, or help give us an email at winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com, and I'll help put you in touch with some folks. That is how this is going to be solved. I mean, the stress on any organization trying to fill 3,000 seats a game, on Tuesday nights throughout the winter, is tough. And listen, the long-term viability of the franchise depends on it, and that is just simply a fact. So let's hopefully see some more butts in seats. Certainly, this will be a great crowd tonight, and I think a lot of that is Bedard related. We've got some seats available on Saturday. That one should be full. Saturday night game against Philly. And then next Tuesday night, and again, there's great deals on Tuesday night games as well. We saw a pretty good crowd on there. I mean, it always kind of seems more than maybe you see that final number, but the bottom line is this team is getting the job done, and it would be great to see maybe some of the folks that had, for whatever reason, not been able to get out to the rink earlier this season, get back in there. And I think that positive momentum, both on the ice and in the stands, will only be good for the organization. It's incredibly important. So winnipegjets.com/tickets. Let's see out at the rink and keep this thing rolling with positive momentum on the ice and in the stands for the Winnipeg Jets. Got to thank our friends at Wallace & Wallace. You know that they're the fencing and overhead door specialists. Man, we're into 2024. Been doing it for almost 80 years, since 1946. They've been serving residential and commercial customers. And of course, we've seen their fences and trucks all over the city. What you might not know, though, is that they are the leaders in overhead garage doors. As the Clopay dealer in Manitoba, the largest selection for your home. But with it getting pretty darn cold coming up over these next few days, this is the part of the year where your garage door will work the hardest. And the right time to prevent downtime this winter is right now. You can give Wallace & Wallace a call to book your inspection and maintenance service. Call today for residential and commercial overhead door sales and service. There's only one name or two you need to know, and that is Wallace & Wallace. And of course, guys, we've been talking a lot about the new year. No one's looking as good as the Winnipeg Jets right now, but if you want to look as good as you can in the new year, get on down to F Apparel and talk to the fellas about maybe an upgrade in your menswear department. F Apparel features beautiful, custom-made to fit suits starting at just $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the biggest and best selection of menswear accessories in town. And by the way, if you've got an especially big year, i.e. tying the knot this year, or in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the guys at F Apparel about a 15% discount when you and your fellas get done up for the big day at F Apparel. Pop by and see them, 190 Smith Street downtown, or check them out online and make an appointment if you want at that's EPHapparel.com.
Us is away, but he'll be keeping us updated with all those announcements throughout next week. But here we go. It is time. It's Friday. Bringing in Brandon Rewucki of Skates and Plates podcast. Brandon, what's up, man? How's it going? Thanks for coming here on a Friday. Pumped for the weekend?
Oh, you know it, baby. And I like this is Young Dad Corner right here.
Young Dad, yeah.
we could go a totally different direction than when Huss is usually hosting this. By the way, I do have to say, I don't think I've ever hated Huss more than when he unveiled his information and his research on Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowl winning speech. How spoiled and entitled are you as a fan that you actually are going to bet on what he's going to say first after he wins the trophy? I would love to eventually get to that at some point in my fandom. But I heard that and I was like, you got to be kidding. But other than that, I'm doing good.
Yeah, Young Dad Pod. Okay, what brand of diaper cream are you all over? Are you going with the no name or the name brand stuff? But I actually admired Hustler going back. I mean, that's some good intel. Going back and reading the speeches of the of the Patrick Mahomes getting MVP. I mean, I kind of was like, hey, that's actually pretty valuable. I mean, I always joke about betting on Gatorade color, and I like correlating the color of the Gatorade to the team. So I think red is getting some nice val at plus 450, but I don't think that's the case. But back to the young dad pod. Are you a Pampers guy or Huggies? No. Do you want to? Okay, we've talked about the Jets enough. It's not going well. We're gonna get your number of level of concern, but the Bombers, big week for them. Did you see it shaken out this way? Brando, Schoen, and Oliveira both coming back.
Didn't feel like it was going to, like a week or two ago, and basically the whole crew's coming back minus Jamarcus Hardrick right now. I was thinking about this even before the Oliveira and the Schoen signings, although it's a little bit different because they're here for multiple years now. But I don't know if you feel this way, Remo, but does it almost feel a little bit like this year's edition of the Bombers is almost like the last dance? Like they're kind of gearing for one more big time run before there's some potential changes after it. That's kind of what I'm wondering about here is where, where the team goes from here after this year. But I mean, this is about as good as you could have hoped for in terms of reloading to take another run at a fifth straight Grey Cup appearance, right? It's fantastic. I just didn't think it was going to be possible to get Brady and or Schoen back, and then to get both of them. I mean, that's just that's as good as Kyle Walters and company have ever done. The big thing's going to be now, can you find some reinforcements on the O-line? But I mean, this team's done a remarkable job bringing guys in for anybody that's left over these last handful of years. So feeling pretty confident, but yeah, it sure helps. It sure helps a big way bringing back arguably two of the best offensive weapons in the CFL back in the fold.
Futures or anything, so we can't really see what the bookmakers have to say about Grey Cup favorites, but I still think the Bombers would have to be there in the West. They have the weapons on offense. You mentioned Hardrick. He's expected. You have the correct terminology during the negotiating. Expected to sign with Saskatchewan, and Demerio Houston leaving as well. But they've had DBs leave, and it was a couple years ago where they brought in like 30 DBs to training camp, and that's where they found Dietrich Nichols, who is the shutdown guy on this team, and you had to be pretty pumped up. And we didn't even mention Chris Strevler as well. We'll have to see what kind of impact he has. But as far as the last dance, I think next year is the last dance because the Grey Cup's here. Brady signed the 2 year. Schoen only signed the 1 year, and I think Lawler. Does he have another one after this? So I think it's kind of coming to that point, Brandon, where this year and next year are the years for the Bombers. The last dance. So getting there, and you hope they can get one more championship, but I think getting to a Grey Cup would be huge as well. As for the Jets, now we can go back to there. I mean, you probably watched the game closely. We know you're a big Flyers guy. What do you think of last night's performance, and where is your level of concern for the Winnipeg Jets right now?
Yeah, so what would a 10 be on the panic scale? Like, is that full blown citywide panic and jobs are on the line?
Yeah, do you think Saturday's are you of the opinion like Saturday's like a total must win? Like, I don't know, you're like.
But it's not good, Remo, when we're doing must wins in game.
I don't think it's. I'm not there. I don't think it's like must win or anything, but I think you have to be slightly concerned with the level of play and just the history with the team. But where are you at right now? Where are you at after watching last night's game?
I mean, it's not good. Let's just be honest. I mean, anytime you lose 5 straight, it's going to be some level of sky is falling. I'll say this. I'm not as concerned as I was last season. And I still don't feel like this is a repeat of last season. And I think that's what everybody's really worried about right now is, oh my gosh, here comes the second half collapse again. And we'll go from chasing a division title to hanging on to one of the wild card spots here. I really don't think it's going to get that dire for Winnipeg, mainly because the struggles last year's team had, I at least haven't seen that jump out in this recent stretch of games. Like, they're still really structured. For the most part, they're playing good defensive hockey outside of one or two mishaps here or there. But team-wise, like the team game for the club, I think is still at an okay spot. It's just the offense is completely dried up right now. And I mean, everybody knows that watching the games. The big thing for me, I do think 5-on-5, this club is going to be okay. The power play is killing the team. It's at the point now, Remo, where this might be the Achilles heel and ultimately what ends their season, maybe earlier than any of us would like. I called it on last night's Skates and Plates. It's an energy vampire. They go out there and it sucks the life out of the Winnipeg Jets, and the other team pounces all over. I mean, you can't go -1 on the power play, right? Like you're winning 0% of those hockey games. And there's just been way too many nights where the Jets go out there and it just seems like there's no real direct approach. There's no set play that they're trying to generate. It's just kind of let's pass it around the perimeter and see what happens. And I think that's the big issue for me now is how can we fix the power play? We're going to hope that 5-on-5, the scoring comes back to where it was earlier in the year. But the power play has just been a season-long concern here. And I don't even know if the addition of Monahan is going to be enough to fix it. To me, it's got to be something where structurally things change and the coaching staff has to figure out a way to correct this really immediately. Because as it stands right now, you're not winning. You're just not going deep. You're not going deep in the playoffs with a power play that's at 15%.
Yeah, 15.1. You want to go down to the decimal place. That's 25th in the league. And I always enjoy pointing out, maybe not enjoy, I don't think that's the right word, the San Jose Sharks, who are here on a Wednesday, the worst team in the league, they got a better power play than the Jets, who at one point were the best team in the league. Now they've kind of slipped with this losing skid, but that, for majority of the season, we've been saying they were number one. So you're the coach, Brandon. What are you doing here on the power play? Bonus says it's going to get fixed. I mean, are you confident that they're going to fix it? And what are you going to do? Let's put you behind the bench here.
I got the whiteboard, eh?
Yeah, you got the whiteboard.
So, I mean, I think to me, it's more of a structural thing than it is necessarily a personnel issue. I mean, one interest, and it's tough to say because we haven't really seen him run a power play here too much, but like you do wonder if maybe giving Billy Hainel an opportunity might be something that could help kickstart the thing. The reason I say that is the Flyers, who also have an awful power play, by the way, turn the reins on the power play over to Igor Zamula, who's kind of like their seventh defenseman. And since they did that, they've started to become a little more successful with the man advantage. And so I wonder if maybe that might be a route you might want to go down. I do think Morrissey can still be a solid power play quarterback, even though it hasn't worked for the team so far this year. I wonder too right now if you kind of almost just want to go, let's make this as simple and dirty and grimy as possible. And we'll have two guys in front of the net and let's just try to get traffic and pucks there. And like just kind of rip this thing down to the studs. And let's start from there. Let's try to build some confidence up by getting some chances and some opportunities and hopefully some goals. And then once that happens, then we can try to figure out, okay, what's the route and approach that we want to take on the power play. The big issue for me, Remo, and I think this is the case with all power plays in the NHL that struggle. And I thought the same watching Pittsburgh the other night too, even though they scored 2 on the Jets. But Pittsburgh's power play has been pretty inept for the majority of the season as well. And just ask yourself the question, what are the Jets trying to do on the power play? Like, what's their setup play, right? Like, what's the one thing that they're trying to do to attack the opposition? And I don't think anybody has an answer right now. And that to me is the problem. Like, you've got to have one concrete area where it's like, okay, when things break down, we know we can rely on X. The Jets don't have an X right now. So to me, it's figuring out a way to get that going. I mean, puck movement's got to be a lot quicker, and there's really no movement at all, right? Like it's kind of the hallmark of a bad power play. They're static, and they're not moving the puck around a whole lot, and it's just giving other teams way too much time to get over there, take away shooting lanes, take away passing lanes. So I think in terms of an immediate fix, Remo, I think it's just let's try to get guys in front of the net here. It's not going to be pretty. But, Gabe Balharry's shown he's really adept at producing in front of the net there. And I think Sean Monahan can do that as well. Let's get some traffic going there, pucks to the net. And then from that point, if there's chaos afterwards, we can find Scheifele, we can find Connor off the post there. to try to capitalize. But I think it's so bad right now that you almost have to just let's focus on the basics. And once we get that nailed down, then we can talk about potentially, improving our arsenal after that.
All right, Brando, we got Ken coming up. It is the Super Bowl. I know you're a big Super Bowl party guy. You got a pick for the game? Because I kind of flip-flop back and forth and gave a non-answer. Do you have an answer? And what is your signature dish at this year's Super Bowl party? Or I know you're moving. You also I know you got 2 kids now. Super Bowl parties change once you got 2 kids.
I was going to say my signature move right now is to hide in the basement for 2.5 hours and grab a half dozen wings and just hope nobody bothers me. My pick for the Super Bowl and really my pick for any playoff game involving Kansas City moving forward is that I'm not betting against Mahomes. I've learned my lesson. I tried to do it against Baltimore. And I feel like I'll get them right more often than wrong if I go with Patrick Mahomes. So that's going to be my pick for the Super Bowl, is that ultimately he's Thanos, he's inevitable, and the Chiefs are going to find a way to get it done. I'm fascinated to see how Kansas City tries to slow down San Fran's running attack. That to me is the most interesting part of the game. Don't know how it's going to happen though, but I just think Patty Mahomes gets the ball in the fourth quarter, down a score, Casey gets it done. My number one Super Bowl party, it's got to be chicken wings. And I'm working on a couple different hot sauces right now. So I've got a few things in the mix, Remo, including like an updated buffalo sauce. So I'll keep you posted if things go well. If I get some time to myself this weekend, if everything goes according to plan, I'll send over the recipe, and maybe you and me can get away for 30 minutes or an hour and enjoy ourselves somewhere. Yeah.
How old is both of us now with 2 children? Mine are 4 and like 16 months or something. How old is yours now?
3 and...
Yeah, it's...
Oh, God. 3 and 8 months?
Man, 8 months. That's so young. So, yeah, you're not watching the game. Anyways, Brandon, thanks so much for coming on. And I'm in for Huss next week, so I can't wait to do it again. Appreciate all your time.
Sounds good, man. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah. There's Brandon Rewucki. He is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Brandon_Rewucki, but I don't think he posts much on there. The Skates and Plates podcast, talking Jets, talking food, and everything else. So there's Brando. We're going to get to Ken Wiebe, and I have the appropriate read here from Hustler.
We have to give a big cheers from Winnipeg Sports Talk to our friends at Little Brown Jug, Winnipeg's favorite local beer company, featuring their flagship 1919 and their newest generic lager, my personal favorite, a 4.5 domestic-style beer brewed locally, fresh and crisp to the taste. And listen, generic right now, not only can you find it along with 1919 on your next trip to Canada Life Centre, up in Craft Beer Corner in Section 310 in the upper bowl, or 126 in the lower bowl, you'll also find it at your local beer store in Manitoba Liquor Marts at a great low price of $19.99 for an 8-pack of Tall Boys. If you haven't tried generic lager yet, try local. I'm sure you will enjoy it, and maybe the best place to check it out, along with all of the Little Brown Jug offerings, is down at their brewery and tap room on William Avenue. You can also find out more on Little Brown Jug, ordering and local delivery options, along with their great merchandise, online at littlebrownjug.ca. Every sports fan in Winnipeg pretty much knows that if you're in the market for some new Jets merch or Bomber gear, or your favorite team from another league, there's only one place you need to go, and that, of course, is the Royal Sports Superstore at 750 Pembina Highway. 40,000 square feet of the biggest inventory you'll find anywhere, featuring all the home teams and the top teams from all of your favorite leagues and whatnot around the world. But it's not just great fan merchandise at Royal Sports. Take advantage of winter, or what's left of it, with their incredible hockey section, skates, both for high-end players as well as recreational skaters, not to mention snowboards, boots, bindings, and all the cool stuff on the King's Skate, Snow, and Surf side. You've got to see it to believe it for yourself. Head on down to Royal Sports at 750 Pembina Highway and make sure to follow them on Instagram for the latest merchandise drops and sale information at Royal Sports Pembina. And hey, big shout out to our friends at Boston Pizza. If you're thinking about gathering with your friends for the big game, there's nowhere better to do it than your local BP. You know you'll have the game on the massive screens in Boston Pizza. The sound from the commentators up on the sound system. And most importantly and most popular, win or lose, you'll be enjoying ice-cold schooners, world-famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and great Boston Pizza hospitality. And heck, 7 days a week, if you can't make it out to your local BP, you can always order online and get it hot and fast to your door by ordering at bostonpizza.com.
There's Hustler. He's away. I'm in the host chair. And I'm pumped to be joined here on a Friday by Wiebe's World. Ken Wiebe of Winnipeg Free Press. Nice hoodie there, Ken. Kenny and Rennie. Catch them here on YouTube as well and podcast. Ken, how's it going? You're back. We spoke to you last week in sunny Mexico.
That's right, Remo. A little different backdrop here, but happy to have the back at the home front here. Nice to be with you. And Brandon, I would take that recipe also if you perfect it this weekend.
There you go. Everyone's got to get a Super Bowl dish. Yeah, Super Bowl recipe. I picked up some wings today. I'm ready to rock. But we're here. We'll talk Jets. Ken, 5 straight losses. Big topic today. What's your level of concern here? And I'm looking at the calendar and it's 2024. Are we back in 2023, Ken, after 5 straight and the second half not off to a great start here post All-Star break?
Well, Remo, we love the hot tub time machine, but I don't see the Jets cannonballing their way into it personally. Every season needs some tension, and the tension has arrived. It's something that no team wants to go through, but almost every single team goes through it. For all the people who think it's 2023, I would also maybe look at 2023, and there's a certain team from Las Vegas that stumbled their way into the All-Star break last year. And I don't think when we talk about the 2022-2023 Vegas Golden Knights, what we talk about is not their losing skid going into the break, but that little banner that they put up at the end of June. So, not saying it's a parallel, not saying it's automatic. The Jets' stumble will lead them to greener pastures. What I would say is the biggest thing for Rick Bowness and his coaching staff and the players themselves, Remo, would be that. What we've seen during this 5-game losing streak for them are a bunch of correctable things that can easily be identified. The Jets have I wouldn't say that they're playing the same style as last year when they ran into their struggles down the stretch where they just about had the most epic collapse in NHL history. But I would say that there has been a little bit of erosion in their game, and it's just slipped a little bit here and there over the last month or so. And right now it's led to 5 consecutive losses. Now it's all about how a team responds when you face this sort of adversity. You saw both Adam Lowry and Dylan DeMello express great confidence in the post-game interviews yesterday with Mike McIntyre, my colleague. And you also saw Rick Bowness sort of taking the pointing the finger at himself kind of tact, which we know is right out of the coach's manual. But to me, it's all about execution. And, the sooner the Jets get back to executing and doing the things that made them successful in the first, 40-ish games, 42 games, I think there's going to be a little bit more stability around the corner here for them.
Seems like every player on this team right now is in the middle of a goal scoring slump. They kept showing this graphic and naming 6 guys. You could have named more. What do you make of the line shuffling that went on yesterday? They seemed to wanted to go with Perfetti, Monahan, Ehlers. After Velarde took some time on the 4th line, he went to the 2nd line, and they did Connor Shea for the Ehlers. You think they start with that on Saturday's game against Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I do. For a couple of reasons here. Kyle Connor, we know, has been, fighting it a bit offensively. There's no doubt about that. We knew there was going to be some challenges for him coming back after 16 games on the shelf, Remo, with that knee injury. Very similar to Nikolai Ehlers missing most of training camp. It took him a good chunk of games to get rolling, and after he got rolling, he was almost unstoppable. So we saw Kyle Connor have a little extra spring in his step after he got the late goal yesterday. I think Nikolai Ehlers, going up onto that line, they almost immediately scored, generated a couple of quality scoring chances, and I would think that that's the way Rick will start, even though he was non-committal in the post-game interview and asked specifically about it. I talked about this earlier in the week on CGOB, Huss, and on our show too. I mean, I think that Gabriel Vilardi is a guy who I think is really going to mesh well with Sean Monahan. That's not to say that Vilardi may not go back up on the top line at some point. That may very well be the case. But right now, I think he'd be a really good fit with Monahan. Cole Perfetti, we always talk about his, hockey intelligence and IQ. 3 really sharp players, very smart. I expect that they'll make some predictable reads. And again, I'm not saying that Ehlers and Sean Monahan can't work at some point. They very well can. But right now, I think as the Jets are looking to simplify their game a little bit more, I think Vilardi and Monahan with Perfetti is a good way to go. And I also think that electric speed of Nikolai Ehlers will help both Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor right now. We obviously know that the Jets' third line needs to get rolling offensively as well. Mason Appleton has found his offensive touch a little bit the last little bit. Lowry, I think now 10 games without, and Nino Niederreiter 15, his longest stretch as a member of the Jets without a goal. He had a really glorious, both guys had good scoring chances, but haven't been able to convert of late. So yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of guys struggling to find the back of the net, and it's odd that so many players are struggling to find the back of the net at the same time, Remo. But what I would say, we've talked about the depth on this hockey club. Yesterday, Morgan Barron was the only forward under 10 minutes of ice time at 8:30. I think that 4-line game is something we're really going to see, and it will give the Jets a bit of an advantage against the Penguins on Saturday, given that the Penguins are facing the Wild here on Friday night in St. Paul. So you'd expect more of a 4-line game here. Yesterday, they were leaning on the Scheifele line a little bit, heavily, 21-40, I think, for Mark in terms of ice time. So I think you're going to see a little bit more even distribution. But what we have seen, Remo, what we were wondering about, would the addition of Sean Monahan bring more shifts for Ehlers and Perfetti? That has been the case, even though Perfetti's ice time was down a bit. Much of that was due to special teams. But I do see the Jets, I think they're also going to see Alex Nedeljkovic, and with all due respect to him, he's having a good year at times, nice bounce back. But I mean, Tristan Jarry leads the NHL in shutouts. I think Jarry's playing tonight in Minnesota, so the Jets will be getting a backup goalie, though they have made some of them look good this year. I would expect that they will be a lot sharper when it comes to their play. They weren't very good in front of the net, Remo. 3 of their goals given up in tight spaces. The back check, I shouldn't say the back check. There was no problem with the Gabriel Vilardi back check on the first goal. He just forgot to check Tyson Forrester at the last moment. He was side by side with him, but he, didn't prevent the pass and he didn't lift the stick. So, he did all the work and then didn't check when the play was made. But that's just not, this is a very smart player. He just had a brain cramp, and that happens to everyone over the course of the season. It just happens to be a little bit more glaring when a team is struggling out of the gate and has lost 5 in a row.
Yeah, and Ken, we do have some breaking goalie news here from the Penguins. They're actually starting Ned tonight. Alex Nedeljkovic in net against Minnesota. So it looks like
my apologies, Jarry will be there again.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's affected the line on that game, but certainly interesting. And one thing, Ken, has been a concern all year is special teams. Again, a negative yesterday, allowing the shorthanded goal. Power plays near the bottom of the league. They asked Rick Bowness about it. I think it was Mike earlier this week. He said they'll get it fixed. It's been half a season right now. How confident should we be that they can turn this thing around?
Yeah, obviously the Jets won't like the fact that they gave up the shorty there yesterday, but I would say personally, Remo, I thought the power play looked better on Thursday night than it has a lot of the time in the last stretch. Their puck movement was better. They generated a lot more quality chances. Nikolai Ehlers off the post. You saw a couple of, the high tip redirect by Sean Monahan was very close. So I would say the power play is improving. Now, having said that, they still lost the special teams battle. I get it. -1 on the power play is never a good thing, especially when the team has gone something like 2 for 37 or whatever it is over the last 11 games. So that does need to get cleaned up. I would say that the penalty kill was one of the few bright spots for the Jets on Thursday night. I mean, 4 for 4, and they killed off a 53-second 5-on-3. So now, having said that, it did take a absurd paddle down save by Lauren Brossoit and Noah Cates in order to keep that clean sheet while shorthanded. But for a team that had given up multiple power play goals on consecutive nights going back to before the All-Star break, I would say it was a step forward for the Jets while playing shorthanded. But having said that, both units need improvement, and I would say a 4 for 4 showing on the penalty kill was a strong step forward on that front. And I would say that if the Jets' puck movement is similar to what we saw yesterday, we know against the second best penalty kill in the NHL, you would think that they should be able to do a good job against the Penguins, who did a good job against them on special teams, obviously 2 nights earlier.
Yeah, I've been surprised looking at these special team stats. The Flyers, one of the top teams on the penalty kill league, and the Penguins with
all work, my man, all work.
Yeah, the Penguins with that offensive firepower. Crosby, Carlson, Malkin, 30th in the league in power play. A very, very bizarre. It's kind of funny listening to the post-game comments yesterday. The Jets obviously not happy with their play, and John Tortorella not happy either. Going for a minute, we played the clip courtesy of the Flyers YouTube channel, but does it make you feel like maybe they just got goalied by Samuel Ersson and their comeback attempts were thwarted, or was it really just as
it's hard to argue a team got goalied when it was 3-0 by the time you blinked, basically. So I would not go with that as a getting goalied kind of affair. I understand. I mean, the Jets obviously wide disparity in shots in the second period. Sure, 15-2. But there are two. I think that it was, Rick Bowness was protecting his players to a degree, and there is a certain level of respect, saying towards his teams, don't sit back. But that's why John Tortorella was upset. They did sit back, even though it was probably unintentional. But it was natural to kind of sit back after a 3-4-0 lead was built. Good on the Jets for not fading, or that to me, Remo. There was a point in that game where it had some Excel Energy Center vibes, circa Thanksgiving specials where they got smoked and blown right out of the water, but they didn't fade into that kind of a game. They didn't kind of roll over. They did battle and created some scoring chances, and then they ran into a little bit of frustration. And I appreciated the commentary from Adam Lowry, because it's 100% accurate. And sometimes when you're going through an offensive rut, now you're not acting instinctively with the puck on your stick, and you're shooting when you should pass and passing when you should shoot. And then now all of a sudden you get that scoring chance and you're second guessing yourself. Should I go forehand? Should I go backhand? Oh man, should I have gone 5-hole? And by the time you've decided, it's kind of too late, or the goalie makes a really good save. So for me, the Jets have too much offensive power in order to stay struggling the way that they have been. But to me, the greater concern would be the sort of cracks in the foundation of the way they've defended. I'm thinking about the Letang goal the other day. I'm thinking about, obviously Velarde had a tough goal on that play. And it was, some people were, going wild about the pinch by Dylan Sandberg. Guys, this is an aggressive team. If you have an F3 that's high, you pinch in that situation every time. That's how the Jets play. It's their aggressive style. It didn't result in an odd man rush. It was a clear 2-on-2 rush. Neil Pionk took a little bit of a circuitous route that sort of opened up things to a degree. And then Velarde, like I said, it just kind of had a brain cramp. He was standing right beside him, but didn't check him. So, and then too, off the face-off, you had a little bit of uncertainty and maybe some apprehensive play. You have a pinball shot, Konechny off the pants of Pionk. You can't really, that's it. The sort outs weren't good enough, but like that isn't really how the Jets play. And then there's another one where, they just, bunch of rebounds and the puck is bouncing around, pinballing around, and then it gets roofed by Farabee, I think. So, I mean, it's not like the Jets have gone back to the old Jets where they're giving up 40, 50 shots a game and there's high danger chances flying around like they're going out of style. But having said that, they just haven't defended with the same fierceness as we've come to expect when the team went 10-1-3 in the month of December. It sort of skewed expectations to a degree, but it also was a reminder of what the Jets look like when they're playing on all cylinders and when they have their A-plus game. And right now they haven't had that version of their game, at least not over a 60-minute period, for quite some time. And now that's the challenge for the Jets, is kind of getting back to that. You're not going to snap your fingers and say, here's our A-plus game. But what you are expecting from the Jets is a little bit more urgency, because if they don't show it, I mean, they played two teams that are A, the Penguins are below the playoff line, and B, a Flyers team that isn't supposed to be above the playoff line, but keeps on staying ahead of teams like the New Jersey Devils and New York Islanders, who are supposed to be ahead of them. So you'd expect the Jets, after 5-game skid, to be showing some serious urgency coming out of the break. They don't want this streak has already gone on a long time. They don't want it to fester and snowball into 6, 7, 8 games. I mean, they want to snap it as quickly as possible. They'll have a scheduling advantage. I know some people are wondering, how in the world can the Jets take today off? They've only been back after the break. Rick Bowness obviously saw that he thought his team needed a mental reset or a physical reset, whichever one it was. Usually what happens is this: it's not like the old days where you bag skate your team after an effort you don't like. This way you put the onus on the players. The coach rewarded his players with the day off. Those players should be sharp and ready to go against a team that, conceivably is a little bit tired after playing the night before. But I mean, the Penguins aren't going to be using a tired excuse. They've only played a couple games coming out of the break. So they're going to be ready. They're going to be hungry. They're going to be playing an urgent game. So I would expect the Jets to respond in kind. And it's really important for them to kind of dictate the terms of endearment here coming out of the gate, because they're going to want to get a jump on the Penguins, because both teams got the jump on them coming out of the break, and it didn't go well for them.
Break, I think a number of teams starting slow. It's funny, I was following a number of Vancouver writers yesterday on Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, and they were not happy with Vancouver's performance in Boston, which is a big game for them.
Right, but Boston had just got smoked 2 nights before.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean. Like the high-end teams, they get beat or they have an effort they don't like, they respond. They don't let it spirals. And the Jets are a very good team. So I would expect them to be a little bit sharper.
Ken, we're winding. Yeah, I'll agree with you there. And we're winding it down here. In terms of Saturday, you think we're going to see any lineup changes? I know there was a lengthy conversation at the end of Kenny and Rennie, if they're going to make any swaps on defense there, with Brendan Dillon being suspended. He's got 2 more games. So you see any lineup changes coming on Saturday?
Well, Remo, there was no placement on waivers, at least not to my knowledge. So, I mean, the Jets still could do that tomorrow if they wanted to call up Ville Heinola, but I mean, kind of all signs point to Heinola suiting up against the Grand Rapids Griffins tonight. And if he's not in the lineup, then we'll have our answer, I guess. But if the Jets were going to want him to be at the morning skate, I would imagine they would have recalled him already. But we won't know that until the Moose game happens. There would be an opportunity there, of course. And no, that's not to blame Logan Stanley. I mean, he played almost 15 minutes. He had not played since December 12th. So, he wasn't good. He wasn't bad. He was fine. Do I think that Ville Heinola could help the Jets and some of the things they struggled with coming out of the gate of the All-Star break? Exits, getting their offense going, maybe helping the power play? Sure. Nobody would be asking Ville Heinola to save the season here. The Jets are not in that situation where they need that to happen. But having someone who, is a little bit maybe more mobile would be something to consider. But I mean, the coaching staff kind of maybe already showed their cards in saying that Logan Stanley was going to play all 3 games. Now, that's obviously always subject to change, and that was based on who they had available. But, Kevin Cheveldayoff recently said Ville Heinola was almost ready. He's played 10 games. So only they know for sure if he's ready or not. And if he is going to be ready, then you would think the door was kind of open for him to be inserted. But if not, there's another almost a full, there is a full month before the trade deadline. And I would expect we'd see Hainel before that time at some point.
Great having you on today. Enjoy, your afternoon. Enjoy the weekend. And before we go, Super Bowl pick. Are you gonna sit on the fence like me, or are you gonna put your cards down and make a selection?
No sense sitting on the fence, Remo. Before you're done, once Hacksaw tells you, gives you the goods, then you can make your choice at the end of the show. I just have a tough time. It's Brady-esque for me. I have a tough time betting against Mahomes. I know the 49ers have an excellent team. They've got a lot of weapons on offense. I know that one of the storylines this week coming out of Vegas is how, embarrassed the San Fran defense was in all the meetings and, dogging it to the ball. And, I respect the fact that the Chiefs occasionally have struggled against the run, and that would, lead you to believe that McCaffrey could have a big day. But I also think that the Chiefs defense has kind of been underrated all year long. And I do think that they're going to put some pressure on Brock Purdy to he does a great job getting the ball out in time. But I think that, guys like Chris Jones could have a big effort. And I have a hard time picking against Mahomes. I think it's a tight game, field goal wins it, or, 4-point game, whatever it ends up being. But if Mahomes has the ball in his hands in the last 2 minutes, I'm going to say Chiefs by 3.5 or whatever the line is.
Isn't San Francisco favored? Isn't it like 2? Has it changed? Let me just double check that right here. Anyways, Ken, I know you got to go. Yeah.
Anyways, I'll take the Chiefs.
By 2.
I'm taking the Chiefs, but not in a rout by any stretch. I think it'll be a great game.
Yeah, it's going to be close.
I'm sorry, Connor. I would love, in my heart, I would love to choose the 49ers, but I just in a game this tight, I'm taking the quarterback. Some would argue that Purdy had a better year, but I got a hard time picking against the guy who's done it on that big stage already.
I get it.
All right, Ken.
Maybe Hacksaw might be on your side though. We'll see. We'll see.
I hope so.
Let's see what Hacksaw.
Have a good weekend, boys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ken. Enjoy your skate this afternoon. There he is, Ken Wiebe, Winnipeg Free Press. Weeb's World on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Kenny and Rennie podcast, where you get your podcasts, and also here on YouTube. Another guy on YouTube here as well, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. It's not a Friday without the Saw, and coming in to preview the Super Bowl, the big game, as they call it. I'll bring in Lee just a second here. He's out there in sunny California, or I think it's rainy California. Lee, are you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You got me?
I got you, Lee. How's it going? How's your Friday?
It's pretty wet. We had 9.5 inches of rain in 2 weeks here in San Diego. It's the atmospheric river conditions here. It's really been something to experience, but get a couple days dry, and then we get another wave of storms. So we've already, it's February. We've already reached our annual limit of rainfall here in San Diego in just the last 2 weeks. A total, I think it's 9.9 inches of rain now in 2 weeks. So, hey, I'm ready for NFL football. Are you ready for football? And I assume because you're in the anchor's chair, the Kansas City Chief fan is being the Kansas City Chief fan. Is he at the Super Bowl?
No, he's he's a wedding in Mexico, and he's been saying all season, at least, this isn't the Chiefs' year. They're not going to be in the Super Bowl if he wanted to go down to Vegas or something, so he'll be getting some sun, watching the game. Maybe poolside. I'm not sure. The plans. We'll have to get some reaction either way next week. But I want to talk about the Night of Honors last night, but we can get into the big game. Some great matchups here. I think both quarterbacks going head to head, but talked a lot about that. How about the head coaches? Andy Reid again in the Super Bowl, and Kyle Shanahan. He's had a couple of cracks at it before, hasn't come up with a big win. What do you make of this head coaching matchup, but also the big defensive coordinator matchup as well with Spagnuolo and Wilkes?
Well, let's start with the head coaches. He Reid's a mad scientist. It's so hard to win in postseason. His career record in the playoffs is 24-16. Think about that. It's an amazing statistic. And when you get to the playoffs against Andy Reid, when you get to the Super Bowl against Andy Reid, I guarantee you one thing. Not just that Mahomes will show up and they'll compete and they'll be fast. He's going to throw formations at San Francisco's defense that they've never seen before. And every time Frisco may do something, maybe they double Kelsey, he's going to throw to the tight ends on the other side, Watson and Gray. He runs motion. He's going to, I think in this game, he is going to move his quarterback a little bit to create the threat that Mahomes is going to run the football, which in essence is going to slow down a bit of the pass rush. And I guarantee you, they're going to probably go tempo a bunch of times just to try to wear out that very physical force defense that San Francisco has. They're just methodical now. Now, this is not the Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes offense that we've seen in the past. They've become much more patient, much more methodical. You know, under Tyreek Hill and some of the guys have had in recent years, you know, their whole life was chunk plays. Here comes a 30-yarder, here's a 48-yarder, here's a 62-yard run after the catch. That's not happening right now. What they're doing is they're just methodically going down the field throwing the football. And if it's 8 yards to Kelsey, or if it's 12 yards to Kelsey, or if it's 9 yards to the other tight end, and then they'll run Pacheco in there, they're just methodically going down the field. They said that's what I've judged the back half of the schedule, and they've quit turning the football over. I think last week I told Hustler the favorite phrase I think for Patrick Mahomes right now is, who can I trust? Well, the only guys he can really trust, obviously, is Travis Kelce and the young wide receiver Rashee Rice. They've just pretty much stopped trying to distribute the football to anybody else because all those guys first half of the season are running the wrong routes and dropping passes. So Reed's a mad scientist. San Francisco's playbook, probably right on the cover of the playbook, is a sledgehammer. That's what they do. They're going to run it, and they're going to pound it with McCaffrey, and they're going to bust some big plays along the way, but they just want to beat you up, and that's who they are, and that's who Shanahan is, and that's what he's done so many other places. Now, he's got a bit of a history wrapped around his neck here of postseason failure. You know, he was the coordinator in that 28-3 Atlanta blown playoff game to New England, and he lost another playoff game, and he's lost a Super Bowl. So he's got some things that obviously people are asking him about. But what they're going to do is they're going to do some creative juice stuff too, Remo. They're going to run jet sweeps, and they do that with Ayuk, and they do that with Deebo Samuel, and they're going to try to create some movement in that Kansas City defense because those guys will be chasing the guys that are running the jet sweeps behind the line of scrimmage when they go to motion. So I think you're going to see a lot more motion from San Francisco. But these are two really good, but very, very, very different head coaches. Now, you mentioned the coordinators. Steve Spagnuolo has just evolved as a coordinator. What they're doing in Kansas City, because now they have athletes who can run at virtually every position. They are blitzing from everywhere, and they blitzed Lamar Jackson into submission. And prior to that, they blitzed the daylights and really got Josh Allen out of sync, and they just tore apart Tua in Miami. They're 3-0, not just because of Mahomes. They're 3-0 because the defense is getting things done. They got 67 quarterback sacks, enormous pressure. I think their whole thing is to try to get Purdy off his spot, make him uncomfortable, make him move the pocket, because then some of his accuracy goes away, or then you're making him having to make the decision, am I going to try to throw it or am I going to try to run it? I think Purdy's going to have his hands full because he's so young and so inexperienced, and you got Reed and Spagnuolo been here before. I think that's going to be a challenge. I think in terms of San Francisco's defense, it's just not the same team right now that it was early in the year. You know, they had the great start, and they lost 3 in a row, and boy, they didn't look right. And now in these playoff games, they've been in the hole each of the last 2 games. You know, they let Detroit run for 182 on them, and luckily they came from behind and won that one. And prior to that, Jordan Love threw for like 272 when they played Green Bay, and they had to come from behind to win that playoff game. I'll be intrigued to see. San Francisco's success has been built on the zone. You saw what Mahomes did in that AFC Championship game. They dismembered Baltimore's zone defense. So what does Wilkes do? Does he try to continue to play zone knowing that Mahomes and Kelsey tore up Baltimore zone? Or do they come out of character and start blitzing and pressuring and make Mahomes try to move the pocket? So this is a big chess match as to what Reed's going to do. I think I know what's going to happen with San Francisco's offense. We know what Spagnuolo does because look at the success rate. Now, what does Wilkes do to be different to make San Francisco better? So that's a long answer to your first question, but those are the coaches. I think the coaching matchups and the play calls, Remo, are just they're going to be fun. I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl.
Yeah, Andy Reid, I mean, he's already a Hall of Fame coach. He can go up there with another Super Bowl. I remember, back when he was at the Eagles, he was the guy who couldn't win the big game, losing 4 straight NFC championships. And Spagnuolo, I mean, you may remember, he was the defensive coordinator for the New York Giants when they shut down Tom Brady at the 07 Patriots, one of the best teams of all time. So I'm curious what's going to happen here. And I agree with the Chiefs. They basically only have 3 guys. You know where the ball's going, as you said. Pacheco, Kelsey, and Rashee Rice. Can they shut those guys down? It seems like to me, San Francisco's got the more varied offense. You got Debo, Christian McCaffrey, and Ayuk and Kittle. I don't know how you feel the offenses stack up. It's just so hard for Jack Name to go against Patrick Mahomes. He's excellent. That's all you can really say about that. I don't know how you see the two, the QB matchup and the offenses matching up.
Well, San Francisco's got a great offense. There's no doubt about it. But part of that offense, I mean, you can't run McCaffrey 40 times. Part of that offense is going to be predicated on Purdy and what Purdy does, and what Purdy reads at the line of scrimmage and pre-snap reads, and where they're sending guys from Kansas City. And is it going to be Snead? Is it going to be Tranquil, the linebacker? Where's the blitz coming? Because I think the stat that I remember is in the Baltimore game, they blitzed Lamar Jackson 68% of his dropbacks. 68%. And Lamar in that game only completed 54% of his passes in that playoff game by virtue of the splits. And when he had to stay in the pocket, when he had to stand in there with all the people around him, he completed only 47% of his passes. And that's a veteran great quarterback. So now, Remo, what you got a quarterback's got a year and a half into his career, and he's going to be facing all these dynamics that Spagnuolo's sending. Who's coming and where they're coming from? And do I believe my pre-snap read? And it's fascinating. There's no doubt San Francisco has got just tons of firepower. A couple other quick stats. We talked extensively about Mahomes. He's 14-3 in postseason. Think about that. 37 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions, Remo, in the most important part of the season, the playoffs. Brock Purdy in these 2 playoff games, quarterback rating is 87. His ability to get down the field and make big plays, it's not quite there postseason, and now he's in the Super Bowl having to do it. So there's so many storylines by the checklist. You can't believe the stuff that's out there that you need to pay attention to. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl.
Yeah, I've seen Patrick Mahomes' numbers over 16 playoff games where he's played, him and Kelsey. I mean, elite MVP type numbers from them when you combine all their playoff games. You got a pick before we move on to the Night of Honors. You're going to make a selection here on this one?
You're asking a talk show host if he has any opinions? Is that what you're saying? Great game. I just think there's just too much experience, expertise on the Mahomes side, coupled with the mad scientist that his coach is and what they're going to do from a formation standpoint. They'll throw junk at Frisco that San Francisco's never seen before. I'm picking Kansas City maybe to the tune of 31-23. Wild card piece of this conversation should be the field goal kickers. Harrison Butker is, I think, 40 of 42 on field goals. He's really good. And this young guy, Jake Moody, the rookie out of Michigan, he's a little hot and cold. He's missed 7 kicks this year, including field goals and point afters in the playoffs. And it's the biggest stage in the world. Is this stage, the Super Bowl, a little bit too much for him? So, Butker's going to kick some field goals. Will Moody be able to convert his? Because they're going to have to kick some too.
And moving on we'll wrap this up. It was the Night of Honors last night. A lot of eyes on the awards. I think not much of a surprise there. MVP, Lamar Jackson, Offensive Player of the Year. McCaffrey, anything stand out for you there? Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, and Coach of the Year, Stefanski, if you want to touch on those. And also, you can't forget Joe Flacco as a comeback player of the year. Exceptional a couple games there with Cleveland.
In terms of the MVP, I was a little surprised Lamar got 49 of the 50 votes. That surprised me because that to me is a disservice of the greatness of Christian McCaffrey. The only other first place vote was Josh Allen. He finished 5th in the balloting overall. I'm a little surprised Lamar got as many as he did. MVP, offense, obviously McCaffrey. I mean, he had 2,200 plus all-purpose yards and 25 touchdowns on the season. That's why he winds up getting that. The Stefanski Coach of the Year thing, yes, he overcame all that adversity. You lose Nick Chubb, you lose Deshaun Watson. Myles Garrett missed a chunk of the middle of the season with injuries, and they did get to the playoffs. Geez, nobody paid any attention to what DeMeco Ryans did in Houston. I mean, he took that thing from ground zero, from the basement floor, and got them into the playoffs with a totally rebuilt roster and 2 number-1 draft picks who became the rookies of the year, both sides of the ball. I thought DeMeco Ryans probably should have gotten more votes. He would have gotten my vote if I had a vote here in San Diego. But overall, that was, there are a lot of great players in the league, and obviously guys had some great seasons. I would have voted for DeMeco Ryans over Stefanski just based on where they started and what happened during the course of that run.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud also getting Rookie of the Year as well. And Hall of Fame, we'll have to debate who's in, who's out. Modern players, Dwight Freeney, Devin Hester, Andre Johnson, Julius Peppers, Patrick Willis, I think all pretty deserving candidates. They have them listed as the senior category, Steve Mongo McMichael and Randy Gradishar. The one player didn't get in, Lee, and I know you can speak to this, Antonio Gates, one of the best tight ends ever. Big snub for Antonio Gates, but you have to think he's getting in next try, right?
Yeah, I think so. In terms of the Hall of Fame, there's a tinge of sadness here. Steve McMichael's a legendary anchor with William Perry on the Bears Super Bowl defense with Mike Ditka. He's dying of ALS, and I don't even know if he'll make it to the ceremony. So there's a tinge of sadness there because he gave his life to the NFL. He played 13 years in the trenches, and unfortunately, football's going to wind up taking his life. So there's a bit of sadness there. Each of these guys is really good. The pass rushers are unique. Peppers was such a monster specimen. Freeney did it on skill and speed. I really liked Dwight Freeney. Talk about being a, quote, self-made man. He was kind of an undersized, real defensive end. But, boy, he got shot out of a cannon coming across that line of scrimmage. Wide receivers, Andre Johnson, big and physical. I don't know if he ever got the true coast-to-coast recognition he deserved because he played down in Houston. Reggie Wayne was just slick, really, really good. Patrick Willis, just a warrior. That's not a sexy position, inside linebacker, but boy, did he play inside linebacker like the Mike Singletaries and way back in the day, the Dick Butkuses of the world. The Gates situation, I was disappointed. That's not a position that's got neon lights wrapped around it. But, dude, you catch 116 touchdowns in 16 years in the NFL, and you play all the time. He played hurt. He was, Butch Cassidy's Sundance Kid. He was part of Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates, Butch Cassidy's Sundance Kid, paired with LaDainian Tomlinson. It's a shame those guys never got to the Super Bowl. And those are 3 spectacular offensive players. But I think Gates will be the first tight end off the board, and next year's class is not as deep. I would think Gates probably gets more consideration next time around, but really good man. And the most amazing thing is he never played college football. He was a power forward basketball player at Kent State, who's on the brink of going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. And on his driver's license, it says 116 touchdowns in 16 years. I don't think we'll ever, apologies to Travis Kelce, I think we'll ever see that again from a tight end.
Yeah, I love to watch. They used to call him emerging star Antonio Gates, I think, in his couple seasons. He mentioned every broadcast. Yes, he played basketball at Kent State, and those Charger teams were so great. Ran into the Patriots. One year, I think, ran into the Jets. And with the Nate Kading missed field goal, I won't forget that one. Love those Charger teams. But Lee, appreciate you coming on, and I want to plug where people can find you. Lee, I'll let you go ahead. You can mention it.
Well, we got a website. I've had it for 15 years. It's all written every day of the week. There's something new on it. You like sports, check it every morning. Subscribe so you'll get the notifications when we post. It's leehacksawhamilton.com. And we just started a podcast about a year ago, and that thing's exploded. We're on all the social networks, and you can subscribe to that. It's absolutely free, and you'll get notifications. We do bonus podcast on Monday. We do regular Thursday podcasts, in addition to everything I'm writing. So I know we got some Canadian followers who come off your show and go to my podcast, but it's up there on the YouTube channel anytime. Take it and subscribe and follow.
Yeah, we'll have to tune in Monday after our show. We can watch your show to see your thoughts on the Super Bowl. And check out Lee on Instagram. Love your minute reels there. It's awesome to see. So thank you so much, Lee. And I can't wait to catch up next week and talk about the big game.
Good to talk to you, Mikey, and we'll wait to see what Hustler's got to say coming back from Mexico, what kind of mood he's in after the Chiefs beat the 49ers.
Perfect. There he is, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton at Hacksaw 1090 on X, formerly known as Twitter. Oh, Connor's we haven't really touched on the Bombers here, but before we'll get into some breaking Bomber news. Well, I'll mention right now, Connor sending to me that Jackson Jeffcoat saying goodbye to Winnipeg and goodbye to the Bombers. We kind of heard about that. I haven't had a chance to check this out, but that's Paul Friesen with that right now on X, formerly known as Twitter. And if you are maybe just listening, not watching, the marble race is open. ! Marbles in chat. We'll get to a good track today and get in. We'll give away a WST hoodie. Some other housekeeping. We're giving away a pair of Manitoba Moose tickets on our website, winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. We'll give those away next week. It's to the Saturday, February 17 game. That's 2 p.m. start time. And if you want to get notified of more goings on with Winnipeg Sports Talk, just go to our website, winnipegsportstalk.com, and sign up for our mailing list. We have some AEW tickets will be given away until that show on April 10. And, whatever events that we may have, we do have that whiskey. I think there's like 2 tickets left. That is the whiskey link at the top of winnipegsportstalk.com or in the description of this video or this podcast if you're listening on podcast. We did have some big Bombers news this week. Brady Oliveira signing a 2-year deal. Dalton Schoen as well. We didn't think it could be done. Both of them. Kyle Walters gets it done. And Dalton Schoen spoke to the media on a Zoom call talking about the free agency process. And shout out to bluebombers.com for this video.
There's definitely always that thought in the back of my mind that, obviously Winnipeg is where I wanted to be. And so, that was kind of my thought process the whole way along. But right in the start of the offseason, obviously there was some stuff with NFL stuff that my agent, he had to do his due diligence and look into all of those options as well, because there was some interest on that front. And then I'd say probably a few weeks ago, we started getting into, really serious talks of Winnipeg's where we want to be and stuff like that. I would have liked to get it done before the window just to not have to deal with that and, open the door to all those conversations and stuff like that. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get it done before the window opened, which is fine. And so, that obviously on Sunday morning opened up to get to talk to all the teams in the league. There's a significant amount of interest from a handful of teams around the league. And so there was a lot of conversations had with, coaches, GMs, offensive coordinators, stuff like that. And I think, after the first couple of days of that process, I really looked at the whole picture, what other teams were telling me, what they could offer, how I would fit in and stuff like that. And I think the main overarching thing was, Winnipeg is where I wanted to be. We have such a good culture. It's just such a good fit. I know how I can contribute to the team offensively. I love the guys in the locker room. And so ultimately that was where I wanted to be. And so we were able to make it happen then.
There he is, Dalton Schoen on the free agency process. Says he wanted to be in Winnipeg, but he did go through that negotiation period where the legal tampering, as they call it, I think the CFL official term, negotiation window, where he can talk with other teams, but eventually decided to come back with the Bombers for a 1-year contract. And here's Schoen on his negotiation window experience.
Yeah, it's an interesting process, like you just said. I mean, Sunday morning, about noon, your phone just starts ringing and doesn't stop. I think as far as, the money and the numbers, I kind of left that more up to my agent, and he did a great job, talking with all the teams and, kind of controlling that side of things, and his conversation more with the GMs. And I would say my personal conversations was more with the coaches of teams, offensive coordinators, how they thought I could fit in with their offense, and, with coaches, what their culture is like and stuff like that. And I think my biggest takeaway was, as I was having those conversations, they were all selling me on the fact that they could provide what I know I already had in Winnipeg, which is that great team culture, which is that great offense, getting to play with Zach, the best quarterback in the league, when they're talking about their own quarterbacks and stuff like that. And so those conversations were nice. It's nice to be wanted and have teams be interested in you. I was talking to some guys who were also going through this process. I think that's the first time in my career where I've truly been recruited at a high scale like that. I went to K-State as a walk-on. I entered the NFL as an undrafted free agent. I come up to Canada with 15 other rookie receivers looking for one job. And so to be here now and have all these people pursuing after you is a cool feeling. But yeah, ultimately it just seemed like the common message was teams were trying to tell me they could provide what I knew I already had. And so when it got down to the crunch time and, me making my decision, the financials from other people wasn't significant enough to me to give up what I have here in Winnipeg.
Some nice words there from Dalton Schoen, and he did expand a bit on wanting to be in the best spot for him, which he felt was here with the Blue Bombers.
I wanted to be in the best spot for me, both financially and situationally. And so I was really grateful and pumped that we were able to meet that decision and that compromise with the team. And, I'm never going to fault a guy for taking more money if they can, secure their financial future somewhere else. But like I said, for me, when I was looking at the whole picture with the teams who were interested and with Winnipeg, there just wasn't, the money wasn't significant enough for me to give up the great situation I have here. And so I was happy to get it done.
Yeah. Nice to hear from Dalton Schoen. As he said, what a great story. As he said, walk on K-State, undrafted to the NFL. And it's beat out, 15 guys for a start at the Bombers. And in his rookie season, led the league in receiving. What a great story. And he's been an awesome player and awesome to watch him. And it's going to be great to see this receiving group this upcoming season with Kenny Lawler, Nick Dembski, Drew Wolatarski, Rasheed Bailey remains unsigned. And he's on Marshall Ferguson's top list of available free agents. Although we did have a news on another Bombers free agent, Jackson Jeffcoat. I'll bring in Connor Hrabchak. Connor, how's it going over there? Nice to have you back. Good to have someone else to, as Hustler would say, chop it up with over here in Winnipeg Sports Talk.
But yes, Paul Friesen of the Winnipeg Sun reporting that in an exclusive interview, Jackson Jeffcoat told him that he is retiring. Quote, Jeffcoat said, quote, in negotiations, it doesn't always go the way you want. If there comes a time when I don't feel the respect is mutual, then we might go our separate ways. And Paul Friesen writing, after hearing almost nothing from the Bombers this offseason, Jeffcoat on Friday told me he's retiring from football at age 33. Jeffcoat has other opportunities. He said he's at peace with where he left his football career. I believe at the end of the article here, Friesen wrote that he's going to pursue commercial real estate or insurance. Yeah. So obviously a Grey Cup champion. I mean, one of the biggest reasons why the Bombers had such a good pass rush in those years that they won the Grey Cup, and a big reason why they were able to get back. And a tough loss for the Bombers, but clearly the market wasn't there, and Jeffcoat was okay with stepping away from football. So some breaking news, but maybe not. Maybe don't get the goal horn out. This isn't the happy breaking news that we wanted to hear on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Wow, I was hoping we'd still get to see him with another team in the CFL. Probably had some offers. He's battled injuries the last couple seasons, but when he's on the field, certainly an impact player. Him and Willie Jefferson rushing the quarterback. That's a tough 1-2 punch. And Paul Friesen with the breaking news. That's in the Winnipeg Sun. So check that out. Big fans of Jackson. He was always nice when he came on. He came on with his dogs as well. He came on the show from the car driving around Austin. And yes, he mentioned he's been getting into commercial real estate. That's going back a couple of years. I remember he came on the old station, which is the 3-year anniversary of that station ending today. But he came on and talked with us about his interest in that field. So wishing Jackson Jeffcoat all the best moving forward. And here we move on. Connor will hit up the Coolbet lines here.
Yes, lots of Coolbet lines to get to in terms of the Super Bowl. Hustler kind of talked about his favorite post game. Rewucki made a funny comment there about, going back and studying what Mahomes says after his multiple Super Bowl wins, that he's just, anyways, a lot of fun props, I will say, that are just unique to the Super Bowl. You know, you can't bet on anthem time in any other game. You can't bet on Gatorade color in any other game. So gets a lot of people into it. And like you said earlier in the program, I also do like an Excel prop bet sheet that I bring to my Super Bowl parties, get everyone to throw in $5-10 and winner gets the pot. It's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, some people do Super Bowl squares. I've never done that. I think that's really popular. I don't actually even know what that is. I've saw some people just like betting on like first touchdown or something, and you do like a draft for that. But I think the prop pool is fun. Looking forward to the halftime show. Usher. I know my wife is very excited for Usher. I don't know if they have first song on here or number of songs. But yeah, I like the Gatorade we were watching. That we're doing the coin toss. Excited for heads and tails. The anthem time is always big. Everyone's got their stopwatch. I believe Reba McEntire this year. I haven't gone back and analyzed, but so many different. I don't know if you've got any pick here. I guess we heard Hustler. He's the Chiefs guy. You got 49ers. So what do you got? McCaffrey over receptions. I saw Debo's receptions was like 4.5, which seemed low to me for him.
Yeah, that does. I mean, I think he's going to get carries as well. Like I said earlier in the program, I think, and like Lee said, they're just going to run the crap out of the football. So whether that's to Debo, McCaffrey, Ayuk, whoever that might be, they're just going to run it. So maybe receiving props. I find that a little dicey. I do like I said, McCaffrey as Super Bowl MVP if the Niners win, which means I also like McCaffrey to score, maybe even to score twice, his over in rushing yards. And then when you get to the props, I mean, I wouldn't say I have a favorite prop. I will say the anthem is pretty fun, kind of counting that down. And then the halftime, click on the halftime one there, Remo, if you have it open, because I do want to look at if they have the first song for Usher. That's always it's near the bottom there, bottom row.
Oh, halftime there. I was wondering if they had. Yeah. They only said was going to be wearing sunglasses.
Oh yes.
You think yes is minus 250?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he was wearing sunglasses in a lot of his like interviews. They're doing all this pre-halftime show road to Super Bowl interviews, and he's wearing sunglasses, and it's Usher. Like, I think he'll be wearing. But yeah.
All right. Well, a lot of people making fun of me in the chat are saying, "What did you bring to the Super Bowl party?" I brought a Excel spreadsheet. Hey, man, you got to have the games. I will say I spent most of the game inputting everyone's picks and keeping track of them. Thankfully, I found a website to do that for me now. It was something I had looked for years. But we talked about the Super Bowl, a couple games on the NHL schedule tonight. If you want to do some pre-scouting on the Jets' opponent tomorrow, Pittsburgh is in Minnesota. Alex Nedeljkovic starting for the Penguins, minus 130 favorites. A bit surprised there. They're favorites. You want to go with the home dogs. The Rangers, minus 291 over Chicago, who is not good. They don't know since Connor Bedard got injured. They've been getting outshot pretty heavily. Although they're pretty scrappy. They hang into these games, but do ultimately lose. And Edmonton looks to start a new streak in Anaheim, minus 279 favorites. I don't know if you got any thoughts on tonight's game.
No, I mean, the Wild, I feel like they've been playing a little bit better as of late. Obviously, they just claimed Declan Chisholm. He didn't play their other game this week.
I don't think he's in
the lineup. No, he went from one press box to another, from Winnipeg to Minnesota. I thought Pittsburgh looked great against Winnipeg, but obviously the Jets have lost 5 straight. So how much of that was on Pittsburgh? How much of it was the Jets in a funk? And then the other 2 games, I mean, it's hard not to pick the heavy favorites, especially since, the Blackhawks, I think they've scored 11 goals in their last 11 games. Like, it's not going well over there, especially without Bedard. And then the Oilers, it just feels like, even though they lost, they're going to roll the Ducks. I mean, they're fresh off of 16 straight wins. They beat bad teams handily. That's what powered them to 16 straight wins. They beat a lot of bad teams in that winning streak. And by big scores. So maybe the Oilers to win by on the puck line by more than a goal, but outside of that, hard not to go with the heavy favorites.
Yeah, I like to look at the money puck percentages, chances of winning. They got The Rangers, who are starting Shesterkin, no goalie controversy there with John Quick taking the last couple, 70.2%, and they have the Oilers as well at 70.2. A lot of people have thoughts on this Oilers streak, especially in our chat, saying it's not a real 16-game winning streak. They just beat up on non-playoff teams. Look, if you go and win 16 in a row, is 16 in a row. That's pretty tough to do. So I think it's impressive. I think you can acknowledge that, yeah, maybe they didn't play like some of the top teams, and they played a top Vegas team and lost. But I think you got to be impressed the way they came back after we were saying they were done at the time when they fired the coach. So what a turnaround for the Oilers there.
Yeah, and like I said, like they beat bad teams and beat them by a lot, but that's what you're supposed to do when you're a good team. And just feels like everyone knew the Oilers coming into the year were a good team, and then they started slow because of some goaltending issues and bad bounces here and there. And then when they go on this run, you can't then go back. Like I don't know, it's a weird discourse because going into the year they're a cup favorite. They start out slow. Everyone's like, oh, are they bad? And then they win 16 straight, and it's like, oh, are they good? And it's like maybe they were just good all along and got pretty unlucky to start in their goaltending. Stuart Skinner has done a complete 180. He was one of the worst goaltenders in the league in that first 15-game stretch. Now he's one of the best, or he has been over this winning streak. So yeah, the Oilers back to being contenders in the West. We knew it wasn't going to last at the start. A team with McDavid and Draisaitl, they're not going to be outside of the playoffs looking in. Now they're pushing for the 2 seed in that division. Like Vegas are right there. Vancouver's kind of pulling away with the 1 seed, but Edmonton has as good of a shot as anyone in that division to have home ice advantage after the start they had, which is crazy to think about.
We were all laughing at the Oilers. I wanted to see them lose. We were tuning into Edmonton Sports Talk post game. They had tons of people there after that loss to San Jose. I'll never forget that, but they have certainly turned it around there in Edmonton. All right, we're going to start up the marble race, but Connor, Monday morning, it comes out here on our YouTube channel and on podcast very late on Sunday. Jets Weekly, you're doing a great job hosting that. Man, how are you feeling about this week's Jets Weekly? What if the Jets have they ever gone 0-3 on a Jets Weekly?
They went. So the week before the All-Star break, they went 0-3 as well. Boston and Toronto twice. And I joked to both you and Huss at the Winnipeg Sports Talk night against Toronto that night was the most important game for Winnipeg Jets Weekly all season long, because I hadn't talked about an 0-3 week up until that point. It was the Leafs. It's just naturally a bigger game. And I'm like, if they lose all 3, no one's going to want to watch. Now, here we are again, another big Saturday game. Hockey night in Canada, Sidney Crosby, and the Jets have a chance to go 0-3 again. And selfishly, I want them to win so that more people are wanting to relive the game through Winnipeg Jets Weekly. But yeah, it's been rough. I don't know how I'm going to pick the 3 stars if they lay another egg offensively. Mm-hmm. I guess Kyle Connor is the leader for 3 stars right now. He's the only guy with a goal. But outside of that, big game tomorrow night for Winnipeg Jets Weekly, but stay tuned for that Monday morning. I'll be doing that early Sunday, and have it ready and done so I don't have to worry about it after the Super Bowl. But yeah, stay tuned for that Monday morning. It's going to be fun. Last week, just talked about the Monahan trade if you want to go back and get my thoughts on that. But yeah, finally some games to talk about, and hopefully not another 0-3 stretch. That would be nice.
Yeah. Check out, we got some good videos on the channel. Your Monahan one, it's up there, and interview with Dennis last week if you missed that. And you did some great trade targets as well, which we posted last week. You put that together, and yes, Elias Lindholm was number 1 on the list, and then got traded that night after we posted it. So make sure subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so it does give you a little alert when we upload new content. We do have 400 people in chat. What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. If you're new, Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily here Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. Central Time. We got over 200 likes. That is so awesome to see. Every time you hit the thumbs up, or if you're watching after and want to leave a comment on your concern level with the Jets, do that. It tells YouTube, hey, we're putting out some good content. Maybe it'll show it to more people. We're so dependent on the algorithm overlord on showing it, making sure their stuff gets shown. And telling it, hey, you like it, man, maybe that helps us out a little. But it is Friday. It is time for the marble race. So this is the final call, ! Marbles. The winner of the race will get a Winnipeg Sports Talk hoodie. I'm looking forward to trying my best here at play-by-play. And it's not a marble race without Tristan Rivers. And here it is, Tristan Rivers. Hit the music.
It's Friday, another week of work's gone by. You deserve to treat yourself, maybe an ice cream cake or a bottle of rye. For the whole day in, so lax you can't deny. Why use effort even for pleasure? Give my love a try. It's time to do a marble race. Notes can separate and best to worst. Marble race. Just like marbles with the punctuation first. Marble race. Don't spare or you will suffer unexpected. Marble race. Get to your mark before it's too late. Set go!
That's the great Tristan Rivers. Very well done. I picked the AC/DC theme. I keep seeing rumors about an AC/DC reunion tour. We'll see what happens. I think the last one with Axl Rose took over for Brian Johnson, but I think it's Brian Johnson and Angus and some others. So I'm curious if that's going to happen. I keep seeing Bon Jovi, but he's going to go back solo. All these classic rock acts coming back for one more time. And I don't know if we'll get any of those here, but maybe you can go out and see them. Connor, we're bringing up the marble. You do have to mention, Connor, you're going to be doing up, I got to send you some stuff for our newsletter.
Yes.
Comes out every weekend. If you're here, maybe you missed something from earlier in the week. We talked with Teddy Allen from the Sea Bears. That was a great conversation. Greg Button yesterday. So go to our website, winnipegsportstalk.com, sign up for that newsletter, and we'll tell you some of the best stuff you missed. So we got that going on.
Yeah. Subscribe to the newsletter. And one thing on the rock acts coming back, maybe it's because they see the prices of concerts nowadays, and they're like, "Wow, we can really jump on this and make some easy money," because concerts are unbelievable. I love Chris Stapleton, and I missed out on the pre-sale. I guess maybe that was my first mistake. But if you go look right now at Ticketmaster for like verified resale tickets for Stapleton, I think it's in the 400s. And I'm like, that's
in Winnipeg?
Yes, in Winnipeg. And I just think that's nuts. So when I hear all these like old bands that are, doing a last tour, coming back for one farewell tour, whatever, I'm not surprised at all, because I guess people are going to pay $400 or they think people are going to pay $300 plus to see them. So I'm not shocked at that news, actually.
Yeah, a couple coming here next week. City and Color with Nathaniel Ratliff. I'm actually interested in that. I probably won't end up going, but Pantera, if you want to go on February 16. Who else is coming here? I know you're going to Noah Khan.
Oh, yeah.
Ice Cube. So there's definitely are some shows coming up either at the Bird. I got tickets, Queens of the Stone Age. I got tickets to that one. Seen them a couple times, actually. So someone said to me, "Hey, you want to go?" And I said, "All right, if we got a group, I'm in." But yeah, I used to pay like $100 was like the most. And I remember I paid like $150 for like Van Halen and Kool and the Gang, like 2014. But since then, it's, especially since the pandemic, gone up like crazy. And,
so Stapleton, verified resale, lowest price $340 in section 304, row 7. And like the building's basically sold out. So these are like the last couple tickets that people are selling. But $300, I love, like I said, I love Chris Stapleton, but $340 for one ticket is just ridiculous. So like,
yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think the most that I've paid for a show. I don't know if I've ever gotten if I've ever gotten that high. But here, we got the list of marbles. 259 marbles in the race. Yeah.
Gotta add some. There's
Do
a lot
I?
of news this week. Oh yeah, Oliveira, Schoen.
Sure, we'll do Brady Oliveira, Dalton Schoen, and Teddy Allen of the Sea Bears re-signing. Great conversation with him and Hustler.
Did we do a Super Bowl, like a Purdy and Mahomes?
No.
As well? No, too far?
I'm not I'm capping it. I'm doing 3.
That's too far out there. They're never gonna get their WST hoodie.
Yeah, people get mad. People get mad when the ones I put in win. So I don't want that to happen. And people are getting mad that we haven't we played the song, haven't started the marbles, but hey, I'm just here by myself. I got to do it all. I'm gonna save the file.
Well, first I had to get mad about concert ticket prices.
Yeah.
So I guess we're all just angry here.
Yeah,
right?
There you go. Everyone's chiming in on the concert. That's just what it is. They don't make money from album sales anymore. So gotta do it from the live shows and the merch. So here we go. Loading the marble. I gotta pick a track. I haven't done this one for a while. The Temple of Steve. Or should I do the classic, the Dojo? I haven't really had any time to test. It's been a wild morning for me here.
Go for it. Go with a classic.
The marble. Which one do I like? The Dojo? Or is the Dojo not that good? Let me pick one here. Sorry. I'm going through the list. I said I would do Temple of Steve. That's a good one. People are wanting.
Let's do it.
218. Sorry. I got 262 marbles in the race. That's pretty good. Oh wait. Let me make sure I got the right. I'm pumped. Got to get my play-by-play on for this one. And I will say the Super.
Back.
Yeah, speaking of play-by-play, the Super Bowl this weekend, I'm actually going to be tuning into the Nickelodeon broadcast. I love Noah Eagle. Ian Eagle's son does the call.
Yeah.
They got Slime. They got SpongeBob. Big fan of the Nickel. They used to do it for the wild card games, but now it is they're doing it for the Super Bowl. And what they did the Toy Story broadcast earlier this year, I thought that was super cool. And now they're doing it for the Super Bowl. Sorry. Anyways, let's drop it. The entries are closed. We're still here. And let's drop the marbles. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Everyone, drop your marble emoji. Dave Clone, does Milli Vanilli still tour? No. They do have the documentary out. There's also one other music documentary on the We Are the World song, which I need to watch. That is a classic 80s one. Remo, can we make it's too late, make an exception. I didn't see. Like I'm hosting the show and doing the show, but we're off. Val George in first place, going around this figure 8. Val George, Julian, Rick Stockley making their way through the funnel, through this figure 8. It's anyone's race at this point. There it is, Val Jr. They're going through this swingy gate thing. Rick's under. He's in first. Rob Wright is in there. They're ahead, and there's a big pack behind them. Down the slide into this, parkade circle thing. They're making their way. Rick and Rob on one side. There's Greg Hasbeek. He's in there as well. Going through this windy staircase-style ramp. It is Rick, but I think it's anyone's game. Who's going to come out first down the chute? We're going to take a little view here. And it is Rick and Rob, double R. Greg Hasbeek, Mitch. And boom, boom, boom. There's Rick and Rob. They're getting banged around by that swinging thing, and Rick's got a lead. But bravo, Bry! He's shot ahead. There's Dalton Schoen in third place. I see Evan Hunter in there as well. They're coming down to the wire. You know it's Temple of Steve. This is how it ends. We got the platform at the bottom going back and forth. Who is going to land on it? Anyone's game. Anyone's in the mix here. I see Amy Wiebe in there. Dallas Pauls. Rick Stockley there. Bye-bye, Dallas. But no one's fallen through quite yet. I see Bravo Bry in there. No one is hitting it. Oh, Cluster Buster. First one, Cluster Fuster in first. Lisa Foster. Gene Okerlund. Dennis Mayuga, Cigars for Everyone, Hockey Mom, Royal Sports Team Sales, your boy Mitch, son of Dirk, and Uncle Dizzo. It was quite a bloodbath there at the end, but it was Cluster Fuster in first place. That's a tongue twister. Hard to say. Cluster Fuster. Email us winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. You can collect your Winnipeg Sports Talk hoodie, and we'll get you hooked up with that. Hustler's away. He's got the hoodies on lock and key. I'll have to contact him to get those. But yeah, send an email. We'll get your contact information. And as we wind it down, Wade Wilkin and Greg Friesen, the final two, and the firebed coming through. Is it going to take him out, or will they get in? Oh, Greg Friesen. Neither of them finish. A bit of a bloodbath at the end here. That's how it works at the Temple of Steve. And yes, we'll scroll down. We know if there's any side bets here with Bozeman and Ross Ransby. I don't even know if I saw them in there. Oh, there's Bozeman at 63rd. I think he might have taken it this week. I think his employees are going to get to go home early now because he won going down the list. Oh, there's Ross at 90. Shout out to a couple of people. I didn't give any shout outs. I see Frosty in there, Candace. Going on, Derek Schmidt, Bobby B. So many familiar names. There's Teddy Allen in 99th. So shout out to everyone. Thanks for going in the WST Marble Race Friday. We'll be back doing another one next Friday for the Marble Race, for the WST hoodie. I do need to say we haven't really acknowledged it as I scroll down the list. 3 years ago today, we had the sad news that a number of employees at our company that we previously worked for were getting laid off, and the sports station for the home of Winnipeg sports was no longer. It was certainly a very sad day at the time, and again, the future was very unknown, and we kind of experienced a similar thing yesterday. Feel for all the employees, former employees going through that, and wish them all the best. But I just wanted to give a thank you to everyone here who has come out and continues to come out every day. Hustler and I are so grateful that we're able to start up on our own and continue talking about Winnipeg sports, continue talking about the topics you guys care about every day here, at least Monday to Friday, and hopefully more as we go on. And so I'm very, very grateful I'm able to continue, and thankful to all the listeners who are continuing to come in here in the chat and comment, hit the like button, and following us on all the other social medias. So it was nice to turn a negative into a positive. And I don't know if we have any celebrations planned on March 8th, which will be our 3-year anniversary, but it is the NHL trade deadline, so I imagine we'll do a longer show. So we've talked about it in the past. I don't really need to revisit that anymore, but I guess it does deserve a mention with the news that came out yesterday. Connor, that's it. Thank you for hopping on today. I'm looking forward to doing this again next week when I'll be filling in for Hustler, doing my best. I don't think I can replicate Hustler, but man, big. So Saturday's game, you think is it a must win for the Jets Saturday? Are we in must win territory?
That's not a must win, I don't think. But if they lose, then Wednesday is a must win against the Sharks.
I think that's actually, sure. I think it's a can't lose on Wednesday. I don't think we're must win, but yes, if they lose Saturday to Pittsburgh, where I think they'll be in a good spot with Pittsburgh play tonight against Minnesota, and we know how Minnesota they play tough. And we'll see how it goes Saturday, but can't wait for that. Can't wait for the Super Bowl. Do you have a pick for the Super Bowl? The guy wearing the 49ers t-shirt.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I've got my Niners. They're short favorites, but I like the points too. Like I said, every day this week I've gotten more and more confident. But hey, I just sat here this whole program and everyone you asked picked the Chiefs. So maybe not. But hopefully they all get proven wrong. Lee's prediction kind of scares me because he didn't just think the Chiefs were going to squeak by on a game-winning field goal. He said like 31-23 or something. Like that scares me a little bit. But obviously, I'm going to ride with my team. I got the Niners. And yeah, looking forward to Monday's edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk. I will be here, win or lose, rain or shine, because there will be Winnipeg sports to talk about. So I hope I'm extremely happy on Monday's program, but we will see. Regardless, there will be Jets to talk about. There will be Jets Weekly Monday morning, so lots coming out. But yeah, excited for next week because Huss won't be here, and I will be filling in on at least 3 of the days.
All right. Well, appreciate everyone who's chimed in on the chat. Thank you for hopping on. And yeah, that's it for another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you on Monday.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.